Peace, folks. This is X from TPOT Media. Open your mind and wake your black ass up. You know what time it is. Hit that damn like button as you make your way in the door. Grab a seat, settle in, get ready. It's the Grown Man Hour with your host, my man, Bernard Riley.
Something special happened today. I got green lights all the way, with no big red sign to stop me, no traffic jam delay. See, I was driving over the moon in my big hot air balloon, floating high into the darkness. I hope I get there soon. There's so many things to do, so many people I need to talk to, and they've all been waiting for me. Well, I gotta make it through. Something special happened today. I got green lights all the way, with no big red sign to stop me, no traffic jam delay. Thank my stars for every green. You have no idea what it means. No, no. To a man who's always traveling, who's seen the things that I've seen. I don't know what's yet to come. Not sure of anything that I've done really makes that much difference. Well, I hope it has for some. Something special happened today. I got green lights all the way, with no big red sign to stop me, no traffic jam delay. Well, I was driving over the moon in my big hot air balloon, floating high up in the darkness. I promise that I'll make it to you very soon. Something special happened today.
What's going on? What's going on, good people? We are in here. We are in the building. Hopefully, y'all can hear me. Let me do a double check to make sure the circle is pulsating. Everything looking good. Hopefully I'm sounding good on y'all end over there. Let's see. Let's see who we got in here. Melody came through the first comment. SKC, second to no one. Up your game if you're gonna play that who comments first game. We need some coon excellence out of you. SKC, I'm so glad you was on the show yesterday, man. Cause I wanted to play that D Derail clip, but I didn't want to play it without you. I needed you there. It would not have been the same without your laugh track in the background. It had I had to have the SKC laugh in the background while I was playing it. The intro makes my day, player. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, thank the coon. Thank the coon. Melody, you're a pick-me according to the newest Manosphere music video producer. Absolutely. He said it. He called it. She's a pick-me, and it is what it is. Because D. Derail said so. Which that makes it an interesting dynamic. Because he was shouting out the ladies of the sphere. That Melody would count. Melody isn't exactly light-skinned at it. Sister George got a shout out, and they about the same complexion. So it's really, it was really more so, are you for or against the Black Manosphere? And then light-skinned it or dark-skinned it. That was what I assessed from that. Those that don't know what we're talking about, D. Derail dropped a music video where he paid homage to I was about to sing it, then I caught myself. I'm glad I took my better judgment not to sing it. But he played homage to the dark-skinned ladies and started singing very passionately in his sultry voice to the women, the chat room divas of the Black Manosphere. He started singing to them very personally by name. He sounded off like he had a pair and sung to the ladies by name, called out their name and shouted them out, and said, "Give me something like Elise or Cluster B," or that happened. That literally happened. Hopefully I got it more views because I did promote it quite heavy last night. So hopefully I got that video the views that it deserves. Jerome D, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. Definitely appreciate that. Tampa Supreme, what's going on? Who else is in the building? Got Jermaine Habib. Did you figure out who Crystal is yet? That was a Scooby-Doo mystery. We was trying to figure out what crystal he was talking about. We thought he may have been talking about crystal meth. I don't know if crystal meth is referring to her being on meth or her white boyfriend being on meth. But I don't know if he was on meth or crack. Either way, she was crying when the meth/crackhead jobless abuser who she admitted that she was taking care of, she started crying when he left her. To quote the great David Carroll, white skin covers up a multitude of imperfections and sins. End quote. Sugar G in the building. What's going on? He says, good morning, Bernard. Everyone joining the Grown Man Hour. Even though we did not act like grown men in the last hour to 30 minutes of my show, we was clowning that D. Derail video. But we had to do it. Oh, man. It was funny. That shit was funny. Yeah, man. Sound it was some grade A, capital A. Couldn't simp harder if you tried. It was some holy grail simping going on. It was you had to start the show off doing a recap of that shit. I was going to start the show off playing it, but I opted not to do it. Sexual. That wasn't good. Yeah, man, that was about it. He should have just dropped the mic like sexual chocolate. And he did it in a 3X blouse. That just can't be understated either. He left Complex speechless. Complex came up and like, what the fuck? What the fuck? I like Complex. You got anything you want to say? What the fuck? But what's your thoughts on this? What the fuck? Oh man. Roll the hood conservative in the building. Silent Lamont in the building. That brother P Dat in the building. Entanglement L. T the rail. T standing for Teddy right about now. Okay. But yeah, it was a wild one. We definitely had a good show. Definitely had a good show yesterday with Ty City. But Ty City had to get out of there and get to the chopper when we start playing the D the Rail video. He didn't want no part of that. He got to the chopper on us. Ty City got to the chopper. That shit was funny though. It was very, very fucking funny. I just couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. Could not believe it. Am I just spilling shit? Goddamn. You think you know exactly how you like coffee, so you just put the cream in there and don't taste it first? Like the third time I've done that recently. I don't got my coffee game plan already set. That shit is tasting like black coffee damn near, even though I put a lot of cream in it. Didn't quite put enough. But anyway, I'd like to welcome everybody. Thank everybody for coming on to the show today. I appreciate everybody for being here. Hit that like button on the way in. This was impromptu. I've been kind of on some bullshit. Haven't been on my normal time. You know, I like to get it going definitely before 10 o'clock. Ideally between 9 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. is when I get going. One of these days I want to get a very set start time where I'm going to start at that time no matter what. But when you're on some do-it-yourself, self-employed shit, you can start when you want to. If it's just your own little, thing that you're doing, you can do it whenever the fuck you want. But I want to do it a set time just for the audience sake, so y'all know exactly when to find me. Yeah, man, get off my back. Get off my back. I know I've been on that I've been on that CP time. I'm gonna do better. Cam probably. Bernard asked if anyone else drinks liquor at 7 a.m. No, 9 a.m. What was the question on the table? What you got in there? Henny in a coffee cup? No. No liquor. Not this early. Think I'm an alcoholic? No, this is empty. And this is coffee. Some nasty ass coffee, but the caffeine, I suppose, is doing. Don't get me started on that. Don't get me started on that. I am upset. I wanted the Lakers to put it to bed. I'm gonna get to the topic real quick, but I wanted the Lakers to put that series away, and they could have did it last night, and they fucking failed. They fucking failed miserably. I was mad. I was not mad. Mad is too strong of a word. But I want them to go ahead and just put it away because reality is Denver do got the talent to beat them. But if the Lakers would have went up 3-0, it would have been over. We already seen Denver come back down from 3-1 twice this playoff. So there's that. So we understand that Denver can get shit done. But if the Lakers would have beat them, yeah, it would have been just officially over. Because I don't see Miami or Boston having the talent to beat the Lakers. it's feasibly possible with Denver, if Nokic have one of his 22 point, 10 or so rebounds, 6 assist games, and Murray fuck around and drop 40, that can sort of equal to what LeBron and AD putting out. Then it come down to which team's role players are hitting the most open shots, and who's hustling more, and Denver to win that game. So Denver could possibly beat the Lakers, but Miami or Boston, they don't got the talent. They just don't. They don't got the talent to really beat the Lakers. So if once the Lakers put Denver to bed, go ahead and size LeBron up for his 4th ring. That's just what it is. So I wanted him to go ahead and game it and get up 3-0, so that way Denver's in the bed, so we can already start the what does this do for LeBron's legacy? How closer does this bring him to Michael Jordan on the all-time list? We can start all that discussion. we can get all that jumping off. That's what I was hoping for. But hopefully, you say Nuggets should be up 2-1. Not exactly, because let's just say Anthony Davis missed that shot and Lakers would have came in with it being 1-1. Lakers probably would have came in going 10 times harder to make sure they don't go down 2-1. So that's the human nature aspect of it. And that's a perfect segue to the topic when I talk about changing laws. And somebody already touched on it in the chat. They said changing laws won't change human nature. Somebody said that. Uh-oh, Silent, you better not be on some... Okay, you on some bullshit. I saw Silent comment because it's kind of far away. Like I can see who's posting and I could just barely read it. I got to click on it to truly see what it's saying, but I can basically read it. I just got to lean in and squint. But then when I'm on the air for a while, it's like it get blurry. I can't see shit. But right now I can see everything. Yeah, typing. But so I saw Silent. He typed in Kevin's name, so I thought you. And so yeah, he was on some bullshit. But nope, I'm not even clicking on that one. I can't even see it now. But I see you type something, and I'm not going to click on it. But changing laws won't change community nature. Okay. And that's the show. But that's sort of what I'm touching. I'm touching on a multitude of things here today. When you're talking about changing laws, it does come down to a situation where, and this sort of brings me to the something that was discussed in my debate with the breakdown over on Brother Xavier's channel. They said something like, they made the we're in another man's patriarchy argument, one of the playbooks from a play right out of the playbook from who. And so what that was essentially saying, and what that is essentially saying, whenever somebody is saying that, they're saying that Black women don't have to do or be concerned what a Black man is saying because Black men don't make the laws. There's 2 questions to be asked there. What are we talking? Are we talking about, if Black men were making the laws? And I've talked about this before, how we have to look at the current Black people who are in the position, who are voting on those laws. Those that are in the process of passing the legislation, most of them are liberal. Most of them will vote for the same stuff that Black women benefit from, that they claim is the reason why they don't got to get on board with any Black man, because this is somebody else's law. Shout out to Obsidian. He's saying, hey, good show. Was you referring to last night's last night's show. Not 100% sure. I don't even want to talk about last night's show. I do not want to get back started on that D-Derail shit. A shout out to Obsidian in the building. And I'm trying to talk about that damn that damn that damn D-Derail thing. He said Mumia, Obsidian, Ali, and Kevin Samuels discuss eggplant scandal. Donovan Sharp and Black Manosphere already. Oh, good. I looked at. I caught it on Mixler. But I didn't see. I know you played the full context of the video and everything, and I came in late, so I didn't see that. And that's that on the whole eggplant scandal. I know it was brought up briefly on my show. Brought up briefly, and then we kept it moving. We wasn't about to have a 3-hour discussion about it, you know. My brief take on that is, yeah, it was a poor choice of words. You know, he was trying to ask a guy who was failing at every corner, but expecting women to approach him because he wasn't going to approach women. So Kevin Samuels was essentially trying to say, well, damn, what do the woman even get if she get with you? You're fat, you're broke, you're ugly, you're this, you're that. Can you at least put it down in the bedroom? That would have been a better choice of words. Would have been a much better choice of words. Those weren't the words he chose. So I understand people cracking jokes, but people going too hard. People going too hard. Bernard Riley, and you're right. The argument is really a cover of the fact that there are a number of Black women who simply don't want to cooperate. Yeah. Get into what I'm saying. Getting back to what I was saying about the laws. I've always talked about whether or not do the laws change, and does that make people change? Because people tend to fight against laws that they disagree with. But, you know, when we're talking about laws, I always feel like the culture changes first, then the laws change. Unless we're talking about Sharia law, which we're not. At least I think we're not. At least I hope we're not. Because I don't want that in this damn country. Even though that would make women be very cooperative. But whenever Black women start talking about y'all need to get in power, if y'all want women to act the way that y'all want them to act, y'all want them to act a certain way, then you need to, you know, be in power and make the laws be the way that you want them to be. What you are essentially saying, what they're essentially arguing is that in order for us to act right, y'all need to literally take our rights away. We need to have rights taken away across the board in order for us to simply act and conduct ourselves in a way that's conducive to a normal functioning relationship. That's literally what they're saying when they say that when they use Black men not being in some type of collective power. That's essentially what they're saying, not realizing that the simple fact is that most Black men in this country are very liberal. Those that are in power, in positions of power, are not tyrants who aren't ruling with the iron fist. White conservative men will make laws that are, you know, less conducive or more conducive to Black women living the life that they want to live now than what liberal Black men will. Liberal Black men will ultimately give Black women more, you know. They will be in favor. They'll vote for more entitlements. They'll vote for more welfare. They'll vote for more. They'll you know, as far as you know, like everything Bernie Sanders is talking about, free. He's talking about making college free in this country. You know, healthcare free in this country. There's so many things that a woman will benefit from that will make it easier for her to be able to function and live and thrive in this society, regardless of the mistakes that she made. as she got with some incompetent jackass who already had kids he wasn't taking care of. It doesn't matter. There's laws on the books. There's things in place. There's things in place to make it possible for that woman to live and function. So is there implication is that if black men, got in power, that those laws would not be in place? And if those laws would not be in place, that would make them act different. So we can logically conclude that all they are ultimately saying is that in order for us to act right, y'all need to get in power and take our rights away. They're making a turd flinging monkey take our rights away argument. Otherwise, it's going to be hot girl summer, high baby mamaism, and then when we get in a relationship, we're gonna half-ass respect the person we in a relationship with, because after all, we can end that relationship, kids or no kids, and then still function like a normal functioning adult and pay our bills or have our bills paid, via via the government or in some type of way. So it's really a matter of a cultural change. And that's where I agree with Hood Servative is talking about. When they've been getting accused of cultural trolling, and I got to shout out BGS, Mike V, MOT, and a few others. They've been making some really good arguments lately. They've been making some good arguments that we can logically follow, that I can logically follow at least, when we're talking about policies and all of that. However, it is ultimately the case that the culture is just so out of whack that the extreme nature of the laws that would have to get changed to make this culture change, nobody is trying to change that. I understand the thing. Well, I don't want my tax dollars going to that, or I don't want to pay for this, or I don't want to pay for that. I get it. But at the end of the day, if things are going to change, it's going to have to be a cultural change. The example I always use is civil rights movement. Lawmakers just didn't come out of nowhere and write some civil rights legislation against an unwilling country that didn't want it. It was grassroots change on the ground. That shit was grassroots for some time. And it started happening to the point to where eventually that's the direction the country was going. So they then made laws to ultimately move with the people, because the people are who votes for them. The other example I always use is Barack Obama. Once, when the country was majority against gay marriage, Barack was against gay marriage. When the country got to the point to where 51% of the country was in favor of gay marriage, then all of a sudden, Barack Obama in favor of gay marriage. He just needed 51 to 49 for him to change his mind. So it's really like the laws are moving with the culture to some degree. Unless we're talking about some Sharia law, we're not talking about something where the laws are going to come in so hard that's going to force people to change their behaviors. Unless y'all could convince me, I mean, I'll open this one up kind of early. Unless y'all can convince me of some laws that's going to literally make people change their behaviors. The welfare law is not just for women; it is for poor people, period, men and women and families. Okay, but who's benefiting the most from it? Who's benefiting from most? That's the same thing as the argument. The child custody laws are gender neutral. Yeah, they are. But who's benefiting the most? Divorce laws are gender neutral. Who's benefiting the most? The all the other laws in this country, like for example, we know if it's 2 to 4 years for a crime, and black men get more on average get a longer sentence. Okay, a white person would sound, he would properly get cussed out. Well, should probably get cussed out, or at least refuted. Let me not bring up nothing. At least bare minimum refute it. If he came in and say, "Hey, what are y'all talking about unfair practices in the law? Those laws are not race specific; they're race neutral." Really, nigga? Like that's how that would be the right way to look at it. I mean, I know I don't complain about racism, but I can't deny a fact. If black criminals on average get a worse sentence than white criminals, that's a fact. On average, there's no law stating that they must get a worse sentence. There's no law stating that. However, they do get a worse sentence on average. Not all the time, but on average. So there's factors in there that, you know, what kind of lawyer they got, what kind of this, what kind of that. But there's also a human element, you know, in the judging, in the jury, and all of this. So there's that. So a white person would get refuted and dismissed out of hand if he was to come in here and say, "What are y'all talking about? All the crime laws, they're not race specific, but we can look at who getting fucked over the most." You know. So when I asked the question about changing the laws and would changing the laws really help or change something, regardless of whether those laws are written for men or women or both, we can clearly see who's benefiting from it. So that's a that's a deflection tactic out the gate. But what I'm looking for, to get back to the real conversation, is what laws would actually change things. How far do those laws have to go to actually change something? Because I would argue that it's cultural. It's going to come down to culture. And that's why, you know, Bill O'Reilly, I was very liberal and wasn't a fan of him when he wrote the book Culture Warrior. But that's what I'm ultimately hearing with a lot of people today, a lot of black people talking about this stuff today. They're talking about they're essentially culture warriors. They're saying the culture is messed up, you know, regardless of this policy or that policy. And I hear bad arguments being made that, holy shit, that stopped me at a horrible place. Obsidian saying it starts with the home with men, and we're not supposed to say that, but it's true. Well, you've been saying it starts with the home all day. But when you talk about it starting with the home, you say, let me highlight that, if anything. Let me highlight. That's why I got to squint and trying to see it right. Not that. Right there. He says it starts with the home. It starts with men. And we're not supposed to say that. But it's true. Okay, it's true that it starts with home. And I do remember the first time you made the it starts with home argument and who you said to and when you said it. And it was absolutely right. And I've stood by that, made those arguments ever since then. The only part is when you say it starts with the men. Well, if women are free to do what they want to do and fuck who they want and fuck who they don't, and they got safety nets for after they make a bad decision, getting with the guy that they got with who showed up with a marching band behind him twirling red flags and already had a bunch of kids he already wasn't taking care of, and they gave him raw sexual access, then no, we could say it started with her and her free decisions that she's making in a free country. And then there's an argument that, well, if we don't like the decisions that she's making, change the laws. Okay, she's saying she only act like she got some sense if there's Sharia law. That's ultimately what a lot of them are saying. Now, I agree, it does start with men doing the right thing. But there's always, in a free country, there's always going to be a percentage of men that are going to do the wrong thing. And if those men got free reign to be serial impregnating looters in a pussy riot, then the women are going to be, it's going to start at home. It's going to start at home with the woman being by herself on the system, raising kids by herself, ruining and corrupting the kids, and now the kids are fucked up in another generation. And that's that, and there's no way avoiding that. So it does come down to a cultural thing. It does come down to culture more than policies. Even though I like the policy talk, shout out to MOT. Policies, nigga. What's your fucking policies, nigga? Shout out to MOT on that one. Shout out to everybody who's talking about policies, and shout out to BGS who made a very good video recently talking about the reason why you don't hear Republicans talking about welfare queens and poor people living off the government dole, because they showed quite clearly that everybody's in some way, shape, or form living off of it. So it's so much there. It's so much there. It's so much to hash out. So much to talk about. But I'm trying to. That's what I want to narrow down today. I'm going to bring up the think tank. Those that think laws should be changed. What laws do you think should be changed, and do you think it would actually help? I'm not with the financial abortion crowd. I'm with 50-50, no matter what. If child is born and mom and dad are not together, automatic 1 week with the dad, 1 week with the mom. Across the board. No child support. No child support, just automatic 50-50, 1 week with the mom, 1 week with the dad. And even if they try to smuggle in some little small child support, like the very small amount of child support that I pay, because my situation is 50-50 on paper at least. So she is getting me for just a little bit of child support. Nothing that I'm exactly missing. I don't miss it. But just because I made a little more than her, then by default it was, even though it was 50-50, it ended up being the case that I had to pay, a small amount of child support. I'm not exactly okay with that. I'm if I got to meet in the middle anywhere, then okay, then run the numbers on what this person makes, what that person make, but give everybody 50-50, on paper across the board, no matter what, whether it's a divorcee, whether the husband, got divorced, or whether he filed for divorce, or whether or not they just hooked up on a one night stand. I don't give a damn. Automatic 50-50. I'm gonna start a move on. Damn. Where did JI go to get the 50-50 thing there so people can sign it? I mean, not the 50-50, the financial abortion. Where did JI go to get that started? Change.org. I'm gonna give me a little change.org thing going too about that 50-50. And I've been doing a little research on ways to. Oh, there you go, right there. See, I shouted you out. I'm not in agreement with that, but hey, I'm not going to get in the way of your call, so you can drop the link to that in my chat room whenever you feel like it. I'm not on board. I'm not on board with that. Even though I understand the arguments, I'm just not on board with it for various reasons. We may do a show on that. But I'm not exactly on board with that. Okay, I'll explain briefly why I'm not on board with it. I don't want to make the whole show about that. I was about to drop the link, so I don't want the whole show to be about this. The reason I'm not on board with that, because even though I understand the logic, the decision that the woman has to make in getting an abortion is a much tougher decision than the decision the man has to make just signing a piece of paper and then turning around, walking away, going about his business. Now, some women do treat abortion like that. So I understand the argument. There are some women that treat abortion like it's just some very effective birth control. And they just go down there, just get the baby sucked out. I'm assuming that's the sound they make when they have an abortion. And they get the baby sucked out. And then it's like, okay, cool. My body gonna still be intact for when we have our girls trip. I thought I was gonna be out there with a big belly trying to twerk with a big belly at Cancun. But no, so some of them do treat it just like the man. If he got to pay $300 and sign a piece of paper, then wash his hands and walk away. Some of them do treat it like that. But the process, the whole thought process of getting an abortion, it is for a lot of women, it's still a tough decision. You're taking away a life that's growing inside of your body, that's attached to you, that's a part of you that you feel a connection with. You can, feel it kicking you. You can feel the heartbeat. I think you can feel you can definitely see the heartbeat on the damn ultrasound. So there's that. You know it's alive. You know it's a human growing inside of you. So that is a much tougher decision than somebody who at that point does not have any type of, growing inside of him attachment to it. So yeah, it's easy to just sign a piece of paper and walk off. So it's not an equal proposition. Now the flip side of that, I do understand the arguments. It's not equal for the man either, because she has full control. She don't want it. If she don't want it, she can get rid of it. She can get rid of it while she's pregnant. She can get rid of it after she has it, or she can keep it against his will. She can have it against his will, or she can kill it against his will. But he can't do nothing. All he could do is just sit there and be at her mercy. So she has rights and decisions to make after the fact. He has none. So that's why just wear a condom don't work, because she could just been on birth control or just required a condom. But she could be as reckless as she want to, and then after the fact, she got decisions to make. She got choices in the matter. If he's reckless, he has no after the fact choices. So it's unfair for the man in that way. But at the same time, signing a piece of paper saying, hey, I want this damn baby, why it's only 3 weeks in the womb, that's easy for a man to do. Sign a damn paper, walk off. Hell, move to another city, move to another state, so you don't even gotta accidentally 2 years later see her pushing a stroller somewhere. And I guess that's where I got a heart, because y'all know I talk about how hard I fought for custody. I'm all about raising my damn kids. They my goddamn kids. They're mine. So I'm gonna fight for them, do what I got to do to raise them, no matter what. And that's just where I'm at with it. So that's where I'm a softie on this shit, But now I love the kids, even though some of them old mamas don't even love their damn kids. But anyway, had to bring X in here, but Jay, I drop your petition especially when I got a big show going. If we get 500 people in here, you can drop your link whenever you feel like it, man. So I do support you, but I'm not all the way on board with financial abortion. I'm not on board with it. Not on board with it. All right. Let's talk about these damn laws. Okay, let's see. I was already about to drop the link in the chat. Y'all can come on up. And I guess the first question I'm going to ask Obsidian is, what aspect of the discussion do we think is wrong-headed? The financial abortion thing, which I don't want to spend that much time talking about. I do a separate show with J.I. on that. Or just will changing laws change anything? Because I'm not convinced that it will. I just think it has to be cultural. The laws are just going to get tweaked just a little bit here, a little bit there. It won't be a huge overhaul, even though somebody could argue that the whole marriage thing, the gay marriage, was a huge overhaul. That was a huge change, but not really, because the culture changed. Like I said, when that culture changed, it makes a huge difference. When that culture gradually moves in a particular direction. I might have missed some super chats because I was zoned out talking. So let me make sure I properly shout out my super chats. Nick O says, at this point, black men know the black woman's game plan. Don't try. Thank you for the super chat. Black Uru in the building. He says financial abortion would help to change this. Okay, yeah, I definitely saw that one. And I think I definitely responded to that one because that changed the whole tenor of the conversation. Nick O back with another one. He says, black men, no law will make it worth it. Excuse me. I've been burping on the air real bad. I got to work on that. Says, leave her alone. Leave her alone. Leave her alone. Yeah, I'm singing Michael Jackson. All right, all right. Oh, we got the old man in the building. Perfect. We got the this old man. Sound like he had a lot to say down there. So we're gonna go to Ji. Now I know you probably want to talk about your pet subject of financial abortion. We ain't gonna spend too much time on it, but since it came up and you are turning into the resident expert on that, when I let you go ahead and fire off, get a little bit to say on that.
Oh man, appreciate it. No expert, just passionate about it. And I appreciate you letting me drop my link. And I respect your stance on it. I respect your stance on it. We disagree on it. That's fair enough. But here's why it's not the same. What we're talking about is equality of choice under the law. Now, due to our biology, it may look different. That's what you were referring to,
Mm-hmm.
with a man just signing the paper and a woman, whatever. But what we're talking about is the choice being there for a person to decide when they want to become a parent. Women have that choice. Now, under equality of the law, men don't. This is simply a men's rights issue.
Hold
If
on,
the
hold on.
woman can do it,
If I could help you out a little bit,
okay,
when you say this is a man being able to choose when he wants to become a parent, you should, every time you say that, you should word it like you should say a man having choices of whether or not he wants to become a parent after conception. Because
after conception,
if you don't put that after conception in there, they're going to automatically look at you as saying, oh, so they're going to look at it as if you're negating the obvious, because if you put the after conception in there, then you're making it clear that you're making a difference or distinction between choices women have after conception versus what men have after conception. That's the
that's that's
point.
that's a that's a fair point, and that's articulated in my
Yeah,
petition. But when I speak about it, since I spoke about it so much, I just assume
right,
people
right, right. Yeah, yeah.
understand that we're talking about after conception. But that's a fair point.
Because
But yes,
every woman I ever heard object to this, they always go right to before conception. So
and that's
you
why I
gotta,
outlined it the way I did
yep,
in the
yep.
petition and the wording, because this is about after conception. Now, the law is unfair, period, because men don't have any choices post conception, period. So to me, to argue the fairness of it, you can't. The only thing you can say is, well, I don't care about men's plight. That's basically what it comes down to. I don't care that men have to suffer. They just got to suck it up. And to me, if you take that stance and say that you just don't care about men have to suffer, then there's nothing, to me, that opens the floodgates for men to say, well, if you don't care about our inequalities and you just want to say life isn't fair, then we don't need to care about any of yours. And you don't want men to take that type of approach towards women, because it's going to get real bad real quick if men just say, well, we're going to do whatever we want to you, and don't worry, suck it up because life isn't fair because that's what you told us. And that's what it's going to
Mm.
come down to. But I won't harp on it anymore because I know you don't want this to turn into that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we might do I might set up a show with you on that one so we can talk about that one a little more. But yeah, but definitely hang out because I don't know where Obsidian is about to take this. So you might take it somewhere interesting. You might want to get your thoughts on that. But without further ado, the old man in the building, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, Bernard? And what's going
Hey.
on, Ji? Very timely topic. Interestingly enough, that well, it wasn't the topic of the discussion per se, but Ji's argument, I should say, is very timely given what's going on in the country right now. Of course, everybody knows about the passing, and I mean, don't mean ill of the deceased, but we've seen this has been a long time coming
Mm-hmm.
of the late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. We know that she was a staunch advocate for pro-choice, if you will, and it really ratchets up the tension in an already very contentious, election year. And I think that Ji's argument is a good one. I mean, we can say that life ain't fair to guys. We can do that, and there will be some truth to that. I'm not denying that life is unfair, but Ji's argument does see something else. I mean, you can't expect. I mean, I was on a. I'll go ahead and mention it. I was on a
Mm-hmm.
in a discussion online, and it was very similar to what's going on here. So I'm just going to go ahead and get right to it. In Black America, we have to confront the fact that the sexual revolution, while good for some, has been horrendous for others. And we see this manifesting itself in real or perceived observation on the part of many Black men that there's a smaller cohort of Black men getting ass left and right for the free, and the many Black men being demanded to pay top dollar for that same ass. Now, simple economic rules come into play here. In the economic world, they call it price discrimination. Okay, you charge different prices for the same product, good, or service to different sectors of the market. Okay. But as consumers, in this case, we're going to say the guys are the consumers. As consumers, you can't expect them to pay top dollar for a good product or service that they either know or perceive to have been pretty much given away for little or nothing. I'm sorry. I know a lot of Black women don't want to hear that. I know they don't. This is going to be a very, very difficult conversation to have on both sides. And the reason why it's going to be so difficult is because of this. Start with the ladies first. As Kevin Samuels points out and has been pointing out for the past months, almost night in, night out, it's harsh what I'm about to say, but it has to be said. Not many Black women have much to offer other than sex. And when you give it away for free, what value does that have? Now let's bring it to the guys. So for the guys, the problem is, as we've seen, is that we can put the number on it. I don't know what the number is. My perception of it, my impression of it is far too many. We got too many ineffective, incompetent Black men. Just flat out. And they too have little to offer in a modern day American relationship or marriage that any Black woman would want. In short, we got too many Black people, Black men, Black women, who really don't have anything to offer each other than sex. And at some point, we're going to have to deal with that. We're going to have to confront that fact. And it's a hard conversation to have because we're not talking about the young. We're talking about the middle-aged. And life is marching on, and life is happening now. We at some point we got to talk about it. And I was watching Jordan Peterson. You know what I'm talking about, Bernie. The basically the interview that made him a household name a few years ago in England, with Catherine. Yeah. And I was just sitting there and asking myself, why don't we have somebody in Black? I mean, we got all kinds of professionals in Black American life, academics, psychologists, you name it. Nobody's saying what he's saying in Black America. Why is that? Why is that? Where are the, pardon the pun, where is the Black Brain Trust on this? Where are they? And by that, I mean, you know, the so-called talented 10th. You know what I'm talking about here. The intellectual leaders, the cultural leaders. Nobody is saying what Jordan Peterson's saying. He's got sold out books worldwide. I mean, he does sell out lectures and stuff. We just don't have anything like that in Black America. Why?
To be fair, we don't even have a Jordan Peterson in America because Jordan Peterson is Canadian.
That's what I'm talking about.
So we don't even have a white version of him that comes from America.
No. I'm talking about Black people. Why don't Black people have somebody like that? Why is that? Why?
Okay, but you talk about you appear to be speaking as if there are lots of Jordan Petersons that are white. There aren't. He's a very unique.
No.
Part of the reason why he has reached such prominence.
Why are you shifting the goalpost? I'm talking about black.
I'm not shifting the goalposts. I'm saying that Jordan Peterson himself is a uniquely talented.
Talking about black people. You know what I'm talking about, Black Guru.
Well, I mean, it's a false comparison because it presupposes that a black Jordan Peterson. It presupposes. Am I going to be allowed to respond? You asked the question.
You're not going to change the focus of what I'm getting at. No. You know what I'm talking about, Black Guru.
Okay. You know what? I don't. So I'll just fall back.
All right. So let me explain this to you, so we're clear on this. We're talking about black people. We're talking about black relationships. We're talking about black society. One that has the most concentration of educated black people since the formation of this union. And the best we could come up with is Steve Harvey? Really?
Okay, Bernard.
Go ahead, Black Guru. You got the floor.
I mean, I think I would like to.
Yeah, you got the floor. You got the mic to lay it out uninterrupted. Go ahead, make
I'm
pushing. Trying to make.
I'm pushing 60, so I think I want to. This may be a polemic or maybe a debate with you regarding the issue of law versus culture, because I very much believe the culture we have is a product of law to a large extent. But I also believe there's a circular relationship between law and culture, in that law begets culture, culture begets law. Under certain circumstances, it depends on the motivations of the people in power or have been in power. But my point is that, I saw the black community prior to a lot of the changes in law. I saw the black community, saw part of the black community prior to the existence, or at least I guess the broad-based manifestation of no-fault divorce. I saw a world where, it was more difficult to get an abortion. And thus that informed the sexual behavior of women, and then what came from that. I saw a world where, the majority of people in the communities that owned and operated businesses were a black husband and wife. And those businesses were operated by them and their children and their extended family. But then when certain laws or regulations came into place to motivate or to encourage particularly females to behave a certain way for their own personal objectives, that changed the manifestation of the family structure, which then changed or affected the economic viability of black people and black families, which affected how our communities began to look, who then would operate or could operate businesses in our community. We're no longer black. I saw these things happen, and I saw them happen when certain laws were changed, certain regulations were changed, certain policies were changed, certain political positions were changed. So I can't, because of what I've seen, I can't in good conscience separate culture from the law and vice versa, because I've seen how when the law changes, the behavior particularly of black people, but not exclusively black people, I've seen when the law has changed, people behave differently. Now, maybe what's inside of us, maybe our nature doesn't necessarily change, but how we act or operate in this environment will definitely change. The manifestation of culture will change when people can do things they could previously not do, or could not do things that they previously could do. And
okay. One question I got to you on that one. You talk about you saw people change after those laws changed. Okay. Wouldn't you say that everything that was happening coming out of the 60s going into the 70s was ultimately the result of those laws changing? And wouldn't you say that that was a cultural movement at the grassroots when we're talking about, you know, the sexual revolution, free love movement, the feminist movement? All of that was the people moving, and then laws gradually happened after the fact. Now, what ends up happening is something that I said in my debate with the breakdown. We end up, the next generation ends up in what I call the post-apocalyptic aftermath
Right.
of those grassroots decisions that ultimately led to the laws, and then now people are acting different, you know, being raised by the people that, you know, made those
Exactly.
decisions,
Exactly.
and they got laws to pacify their bad decisions that's been handed down to them.
Exactly.
Let me ask Black Rulers. Let me just get right to it. What do you want to happen, Black Ruler? What do you want? What do you, Black Uru, want? What do you want to see? What do you want to make happen? What is it? Tell me.
Well, I mean, you know, there's been certain rules that have been set for the panel. Like I'm also an advocate of some degree or some form of financial abortion for
Okay,
men,
we got
because
that. Abortion. Got it. What else? Financial abortion. We got that. What else?
Okay, I mean, is this an interrogation or whatever? Because I'm not gonna make myself subject
I
to
want to get
just your asking questions.
I want to get
You don't. We're not even being allowed. Look, I said financial abortion
right.
because I believe,
I got
if I
it.
may, if
I
I
got
may,
it. We don't
if
need
I,
to
if
deal.
I may,
Need
if
to
I may, Bernard,
All right.
collaborate. I believe that many of the problems could be cured if men had some degree, some ability to step away, because much of the apparatus of government, federal and state government, been a lot of evil programming that has been involved around trapping men into a situation that compels them to be economically locked in to another person for which they have no bonds, no actual committed relationship. And therefore, that perpetuates a lot of social economic pathology amongst black people, black men and black women. So where you want me to throw out a list of suggestions, I'm saying that this would be a very important measure towards adjusting the problem. There are billions of dollars that go out into that is misdirected by virtue of the child support system. So if you could deal with that issue or greatly diminish the effects of that one issue, you would cure many of the problems, because you would de-incentivize much of the misbehavior of black women with respect to their reproductive choices. So if we want to fix the problems, it's not so much about whether you have a long list of cures, it's about which cure could yield maximum benefit. And I believe that could help to yield a maximum benefit to black people overall and black men in particular.
Let me chime in here. I
Oh,
want
real quick,
equality.
corner store podcast. Thank you very much for your super chat. He says Larry Elder and Jason Whitlock are on par with Jordan Peterson intellectually. I'll give Larry Elder some props on that, but that sort of speaks to what I was going to say when Obsidian was bringing up, why don't we have a black Jordan Peterson? A black Jordan Peterson would have to be pretty damn conservative, and right now we're at the early stages of changing hearts and minds of at least black men to think that, you know, conservative principles and values are better for us than liberal principles and values. So I think that's going to ultimately make room for a black male equivalent of Jordan Peterson to actually be able to thrive when more people, you know, when more black men start looking at things and viewing things differently. And that's where I think the Black Manosphere is, you know, on the ground, at the grassroots, in the trenches, doing the fighting of just changing the minds. Because it doesn't matter how much some black, I mean, we saw Thomas Sowell get rejected by black people, and just most of his audience is white. Most people that buy his books are white, because somebody like Michael Eric Dyson could sell out to black people. You see that's really the difference right there. It's about, so we're at the early stages of just talking about it, changing the hearts and minds of black men to where we can make it possible for when that black Jordan Peterson arrives, there will be a market for him at least, you know. So I think that's where we're at. But thank you for that super chat, Corner Store Podcast. Black Wolf in the building with a super chat. He says, Captain, Obsidian, Uru, Hammer, Werewolf, Shazam, bitches, Shazam, what's good? Oh, he calling JR Werewolf. I was trying to figure out who was he talking about. Werewolf?
Yeah, my
Okay.
picture's a werewolf.
Gotcha.
Question. Let me ask. So we get that you are for financial abortion. J.I. laid out the case. I agreed with it. So we got that, Black Uru. What else would you like to see happen? If you can give me some bullet points. You got
Well, I mean, I think a more fairness in the sentencing structure of you know, if black men were given sentencing or were given treatment regarding incarceration commensurate with that of other people, it would help to neutralize the imbalance in which we're punitively damaged or permanently damaged by the criminal justice system, which has contributory effects throughout black communities and in particular black families.
All right, so
if you can address that issue, that would be very helpful.
Okay, criminal justice.
There are more reproduction options available to men, safe reproduction options available to men. That would also help to provide more balance with respect to the reproduction issue, giving men more freedom and make them less likely to be enslaved by the system.
Okay, let me make sure I got this so far. Financial abortion, criminal justice reform, more birth control options for black men. Anything else?
Well, I mean, what you have, for example, now you have throughout many of the federal and state governments allocating governmental contracting on the basis of minority status. I think that some of that programming should be refined specifically towards helping black men. Because what you find is very often that you'll have this allocation of contracting to quote minorities, but then when you look at the actual detail of it, 50 or 60% of that is going to white women, who, by the way, are usually married to white men. So that's effectively not even a minority company. And then you have a huge portion of remains going to Hispanics and Indians and et cetera. I think there should be more pushing for programming for regulations that specifically allocate contracting opportunities to black men.
Okay, so I want to make sure I got this right. Okay, financial abortion, criminal justice reform, more birth control options, and the last one was what now?
More government grant opportunities geared specifically for black men.
Okay, so do you have anything else, or is that the main one?
I mean, I wasn't necessarily prepared to provide a laundry list of all things. I mean, I guess I'm not gonna. I don't expect to dominate. You know.
You gave three things. That's probably. I want to see where Obsidian is going with this. So let's just work with the three things you gave.
Okay. So financial abortion. Okay, we got an opening now. If you feel the way that Black Uru and J.I. does, you got a clarion opening now. I mean, because the Supreme Court justice hangs in the balance now. You only need one justice to tilt it in favor of what you want to do. There have been active movements for years, almost always white, chipping away at Roe v. Wade from various different angles. So if that's what you want, now's the time to do it, especially in the political season. So there's that. With regard to criminal justice reform, Trump's already all over it. That's we all know about Kim Kardashian going to the White House. That's already in the pipeline. With regard to more birth control options for black men, that's a private sector free market issue. That's something for the private sector, various companies that make those type of devices.
Yeah, but the approvals of those drugs will be dictated by government of drugs, and procedures will be dictated by the FDA and other regulatory entities. And in fact, attempts to bring male contraceptive options to men have often been actively thwarted by feminists.
Okay. So if that's the argument,
So there is a government element, a
oh,
legal government element to that.
gotcha. So there is a free market component, but there's also a regulatory component.
Exactly.
Okay. I want to come to that in a second. And finally, more government contracts earmarked specifically for Black men.
Yes.
Make sure I got this. Okay. So the first two we already got out the way. If you want financial abortion, now's your chance to do something about it, Black men.
Wait, hold on. Let me real quick. Well, shout out to Perfect Storm for the super chat. Appreciate that. Wallace, I just want to formally acknowledge, yes, men should be wearing condoms if they're having sex. With having casual sex with women, they definitely should be using condoms, and women should be on birth control as much as possible. And personal responsibility is the best way for the individual to solve this problem. But there's still a larger discussion about laws and regulations and how the country will be and how the country will be governed when it comes to this stuff. So that's sort of the discussion right now. But you are absolutely right. The individual guy, you out getting pussy, put a condom on. Okay, so you can stop spamming. I just said that just so he can stop spamming the chat with put a condom on. I'm with you. Power to the people.
And actually, Bernard, Black men wear the most condoms of anybody.
Yep,
we use more condoms than anybody else. So that's so it really is an interesting dynamic here. We have the majority of Black men are single and childless. So a real interesting question here about this finance. Who are we fighting for? We're not fighting for all Black men because all Black men don't have this problem. Who are we fighting for? We're fighting for a small cohort of Black men who are sexually irresponsible.
Okay,
no, let me hold on, Black. Let me step back in here because this is I'm gonna get lost in the conversation.
Triple T Kill, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. He said, shout out Bernard. Appreciate the super chat, brother. Go ahead, J.I., you got it.
All right, now to Obsidian's point, and Obsidian makes some good points. I'm not gonna agree though that we're fighting for a small segment of irresponsibility, man, because that's not what financial abortion is about. It's not about irresponsible men. It's about men having the same rights post-conception, thank you, Bernard, that women have. That's what it's about. It's not about responsibility or anything like that. Because hold on, let me. You're gonna respond. I know, but hold on. Just like women, a married couple, they can be married, they can be financially set, but the woman, even in marriage, she can decide, you know what, I'm not ready for kids. Even within this marriage, she can still go have an abortion. Now, both parties are responsible, both parties are married, both parties can be well off. This is not about irresponsibility, and I don't like when it's framed that way because it cheapens and it belittles what this is really about, which is equality under the law for men and women. And to answer your earlier question, saying that's what I want. I want equality between men and women under the law. And what I mean by that is, even though some things are written on the books, well, there is no financial abortion for men. They need that. But even though things are written on the books to be equal for men and women, if a woman is beating, there's social experiments we can all watch on YouTube. If a woman is hitting a man, nobody cares. That man responds to that woman. You got men, oh, whoa, you can't put your hands on a blah, blah, blah. In domestic disputes, even though most of them are started by a woman, the man usually is getting the short end of the stick. He has to leave, even if it's his house a lot of times. And financial court, child court, we already know how that goes in child court. And Bernard just did a show with Fuck Child Support, Mr. Palmer himself. So I want equality under the law for men and women. That is what I want to see happen. And men are gonna have to fight and push that, put money behind it and fight it on a political level. And that much we do agree with. All right, you got it.
Now, I want to, if I may, Obsidian, I think you're being somewhat myopic in your perspective here, because it's not just about those few men with their wayward sexual behavior. It's about the women themselves. A lot of what informs the behavior of or the misbehavior of Black women is predicated on their reproductive options and how they stand to benefit from the misuse of their reproductive options. And one of the key items of that reproductive option is to financially enslave a man. If I can financially enslave a man with my sexual misbehavior, I am more inclined to engage in reckless behavior than if I think that if I get pregnant and if I want to have this baby, it's going to be all on me. Guess what? A percentage of the thoughts might think less thoughtishly if they think it's all going to be on them when the baby comes. So my view is not just about the men who misbehave. It's about giving the women the reconsideration of their behavior when they cannot entrap a man in their sexual misbehavior.
Okay. So I want to respond to both of this. So going to your point, Black Uru, then you agree with me, defund Planned Parenthood. We don't have to end Roe v. Wade.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
All we have to do is just defund it. But Planned Parenthood is still around. Black women, if they want to get abortions, they can do that. They just have to pay for it. The economic reality will change their behavior. Incentives drives behavior. That's economics 101. When Black women figure out that they will have to pay the full freight for their sexual choices, that will change their behavior. Just defund Planned Parenthood. That's the end. But that doesn't go to the point of financial abortion, which is why I'm going to get back to J.I. I understand your position, and I'm actually sympathetic to it. But I also understand how laws work. See, what you're talking about is the spirit of the law. But how it's going to actually work in practice is something else. That's the reason why the Supreme Court is so important. They have to consider both the spirit of the law and then the letter of the law, how it actually works in real time going forward for decades from now. That's why it's so important. Yes, you're right. It would protect, first and foremost, it's about the ideal of equality. I get that. But this is how it's going to play itself out on the ground. The guys who are already conscientious, responsible, it's a non sequitur for them. But the guys who aren't, this is where it's going to play itself out the most. And you always have to consider the unintended consequences. That's the reason why they have the saying in legal circles that hard cases make bad law. So, I mean, we have to, this is something that we have to be very careful about because we don't know where this thing can go.
Give me your worst case scenario in your opinion, Mr. Obsidian.
Hold your thought on that question. That's a good question. DJ Jig Tight, he says, great content, B. I'd love to join the panel one day. I tend to drop the link in the chat. So hey, if it's a subject that you feel that you can add some value to, then yeah, you can feel free to hop up if you see the link floating around in the chat. Black Wolf Inc. in the building says Black men just run for office more aggressively. We have to be the change we want to see done. Good stuff, Black Wolf Inc. And also, Triple T Kills. Thanks for the super chat. I did scan that one and I ain't reading it, but thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. At least you're paying to troll and talk shit. All right. Eamon Perry, he says it costs $284,570 to raise a child to 18. I tend to disagree with that, but that's what the data says. I don't feel like I'm breaking the bank that hard raising kids. I just don't. Okay, he says you make abortion. Really, nigga, really. Okay, make abortion 284,570. That will make women think twice about their reckless sexual behavior. Yeah, I think that speaks to the spirit of the law thing, but not really something that they'll ever get put in practice. Nick O in the building, he says, oh man, Black men want laws to mitigate the Black woman's fuckery.
Yeah, I'm glad that Nick said that because you don't have to have laws to do that. See, what's being left out of all of this is, my man, you don't have to deal, and Bernard talked about earlier his recent debate with Danielle George and Concrete Rose. And they used essentially the Cynthia G argument.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why Black women are this way is because you guys don't have your own Wakanda, is what it amounts to. Okay. Look, why can't these sisters just simply say, you know what? I'm not interested in a patriarchal system. I want something else. I want a partnership with a man. I want to be able to call the shots. He's kind of like a silent partner. I'm not saying that's wrong. It's wrong for me, and I
Right.
wrong for a lot of black men present. But is it wrong in and of itself? No, they have the right to live that way. But these black women understand that if you put it out there just like that, not just a lot of black men would walk away from it, but even more are the black men that they actually need. They may not like them, they may not want them, but they need them. As Bernard has rightly pointed out many times, black women know who's who among men. They know the guys who would make a good dad, the guys who would make a good husband, the guys who would, make a good boyfriend, make a good friend. They know who these guys are. They know who they are. And they know the guys who aren't all that particularly responsible and all the rest of it, but they're attractive or they're good in bed or whatever, or they're easier to push around. That's a big factor that a lot of us don't want to talk about. A lot of black women get with incompetent guys for a very simple reason, so they can push them around. This is the reason why, and Kevin Samuels made a damn good point when he did a recent show on this about how many black women call themselves divas and bosses. The reason why they call themselves divas and bosses, so they can boss somebody around. It's not because they actually have talent. It's not because they actually have people answering to them that's on a payroll. It's because so they can boss a subordinate around in it. Excuse me. That's usually in the form of a mate and children.
And that's a product of law.
Okay. So these are things that can be mitigated against without ever having to run for office, without ever casting a ballot. I mean, that's something that you can do individually as a black man. But the trick is you have to be competent. You have to be a competent black man to be able not to have to deal with black women like that. The dirty little secret that a lot of black men don't want to admit is that for the black men who make the most noise about this, there's a reason for it. Because they tend to be the ones that's not all that sharp on the ball. Think about all the conversations.
You know what? I would like to see some social science on that.
I would
because
too.
And the only reason I say that is because I know personally a lot of very productive men that have had struggles with their, and most of them, frankly, have been married and had children. Some of them, high government or corporate positions. Some of them even on business owners. I mean, there may. It's not that I would disagree that there is an economic component to that to some degree, but I don't think it's as simple as you appear to be presenting here. I think there are circumstances amongst black men and black women that create the scenario you described to some degree, irrespective of how productive the man is.
Hold on, I'd asked the city a question before Bernard read the super chat.
Yeah, you did. I'm sorry. Yeah, let's get back to that.
What his because he was speaking about the spirit of the law versus the actual, implications of the law and what it looks like in real time, and about concerning financial abortion for men. So I was asking him, what is the worst case scenario in his opinion? What does that look like if men did get that in effect? What does that look like?
I have no idea, man. I don't. And that's the reason why the founding fathers are so genius, because they were able to see so far ahead into the future potential scenarios. There's a reason for, I get it. A lot of black people are very cynical about that. I get it. But I mean, trying to be as objective as possible, there's a reason why the founding fathers are so revered. And, it's very difficult to say how this thing is going to play itself out. Look at Roe v. Wade, for example. Roe v. Wade ended up having a disparate impact. That's the legal term when you look at, different types of outcomes for different groups of people. The legal term is disparate impact, okay? Roe v. Wade, whatever its intention, what it amounted to more than a half a century later is that it amounted to a disparate impact in Black America. More Black people, particularly women, getting abortions than anybody else when you proportionately speaking. And how is that going to impact a whole range of things in Black American life? That's been discussed. Scholars have talked about it. The whole bit is, there was a real big controversial thing about a decade ago about how Roe v. Wade actually decreased crime and so forth. whether you agree or disagree, my point is that a lot of people are talking about the far-ranging implications of laws, in this case, Roe v. Wade. I say all that to say I have no idea how.
Okay, Obsidian, then in your opinion, would you vote yes or no for it? If it were posed, would you vote for men to have it, or would you vote for men not to have it? Just in your opinion, personally.
That's a good question. I don't know. I haven't thought about it. Honestly, don't know.
Fair enough. Okay.
I haven't thought it through enough.
Yeah. Angry Man in the building, aka Boss Talk Radio. He says competence has nothing to do with it. Policy is the reason why all men are subject to these issues. And I'm speaking from experience, not theory.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I speak from experience too. And I haven't put myself in a situation that he's found himself in. But I had the foresight to be able to understand that dealing with certain women gets you certain types of consequences.
That's more important than I think that you said the key word, and that's foresight. You see, I'm the same person. Well, I was younger, before. So, I mean, I have grown and evolved, and I guess that's where that insight comes from. But I don't think I became more competent or less competent. I just have more foresight and wisdom in the women that I will even let get in my life like that. Yeah, so as far as the individual on the ground, figuring out a way to try to navigate around all the fucked up culture and the laws that are more, in favor of women. Yeah, there's things that the individual can still do short of changing laws to operate and navigate around that.
But hold on a second here. Because the question here is whether competence has anything to do with it. You and I both have been able to sidestep situations that, by his own admission, Angry Man has not. I would argue that competence does play a role in your ability to foresee potential outcomes of situations.
Here's the only pushback that I have with that. The issue that I have with that. No, none of us, and I think we all understand, we're not against common sense. We're not saying that you should just go sticking your hands in fire. But when I hear things like that, it's as if to say, if you do all the right things, bad things won't happen to you. And we know that that's not true. And to speak to the topic, policy is important and it will change because, yes, in our personal lives, we should be striving to make the best decisions that we can. But we all know that all actions, all behavior is a product of consequences. Policy dictates the consequences to actions. That is its power. That's why it's so powerful, and that's why laws can be changed, because it's not anything set in stone. People do what they can within the realm of the law. So policy will always be important because it dictates law, and that in turn will dictate behavior. But the whole just be competent and avoid issues, we know that, and especially as Black people, we know that when laws were slanted to be unfair against us, we know it had nothing to do with your competence. We know that if laws are against you, they're against you, and that's why policy is important.
All right.
I mean,
well, hold on. I'm gonna bring Angry Man into this now. Angry Man, I know Obsidian threw a jab at you, but I do think this can be a good conversation. So hopefully a good conversation can come out of this. So I'm just here's just hoping. That's just.
Well, that's fine. He tried to throw a jab about competence, but here you have a man that can't even buy a car. So we're not going to throw jabs at my competence. First and foremost, policy is the issue. Always has been the issue. Always will be the issue. Now, when you talk about abortion is murder, whether you like it or not. The proof that abortion is murder is that if you attack, if any man out here was to get into any type of altercation with a woman, and let's say that woman ended up dying as a result of that altercation, let's say that she was 1, maybe even 2 months pregnant, you're going to get charged with double murder. So that right there is proof already that the whole concept is biased and sexist, and it gives women the ability to commit murder. Now, when you talk about once they actually allowed this, okay, this is part of the reason black people are outnumbered in this country. This is the reason why there's only 40 some million black people in this country, as opposed to the 200 some million white people in this country. This is the reason why you have less representation in government. It has absolutely nothing to do with competence on black people's part. If you look at the ratio of white people that are represented in government and the ratio of black people that are represented in government, it coincides directly with our population. So one of the reasons that we as black people aren't able to get a lot of things passed and a lot of things done is because we're outnumbered. And the reason why we're outnumbered is because we actually have our women committing a genocide every year, almost 500,000 murders every year through Planned Parenthood. 20 million, over 20 million murders since the 70s. So how are we expected to do anything when we're outnumbered in this country? And if you were to go to the United Nations website and you were to look up the definition of genocide, it actually describes that. It actually describes what's being done through Planned Parenthood. Now, as far as my competence and Obsidian being able to avoid the things that I didn't avoid, first and foremost, when I got into a relationship with my children's mother, I got into a relationship as a fully grown man, 21 years old, with my own place. I didn't go somewhere and knock up some chick I was dating. I was in that relationship for 3 years in my own place that I paid for before we had our first child. And that relationship remained for 10 years. This is a 10-year relationship we're talking about. This is a common law relationship we're talking about. And I might add, I don't have any other babies by any other women floating around. And I still currently take care of my children. So I'm a very competent man, Obsidian. I can pay my bills. I can buy a car. I can take care of everything I need to take care of, which I'm currently still doing and have not stopped doing the entire time I've been in a relationship. However, what happens is when you get into a relationship with a woman in this country, if that relationship fails for any reason, doesn't matter if you're competent or incompetent, doesn't matter if you're married or not married. If they decide that they have an issue with you, policy gives them the ability to fleece you out of your money in numerous ways. So this argument that you keep using, this intellectual dirty macking, where you're trying to convince the women, because that's all it really is about. You're trying to convince the women to pick guys like you that you deem to be competent, even though the concept of competence coming out of your mouth is absolutely ridiculous. Because here you are, you've worked for the vast majority of your life, haven't been married, don't have any children, but yet you're still struggling. So I wouldn't describe you as a competent man, Obsidian. So don't take any more shots at me, bro.
May I respond?
Yes, 1 second. Mr. Chain Vicious, those abortions are a good thing. Quantity does not equal quality. I got some agreement with that statement, but especially if they are coming from the same factory, the issue is the factory and culture. Yes, I do speak a lot about the culture being the problem, and yeah, so that's a whole nother show. That's a whole nother show. Well, that's kind of
Hey, Bernard, before Old Man responds, I just wanted to piggyback AM's point. It'll take me about 20 seconds.
All right, I'll give you 25 seconds. Go ahead.
My man. All right. So I'll piggyback that when we're talking about policy. That's also the reason that they create policy surrounding black men going to jail and then also not being able to vote. The whole point is to take the black male voter block off of the table. So that policy in itself piggybacks also what AM was talking about. That's what I wanted to add to that conversation.
All right, cool. All right. Thanks. Silent. Oh man, go ahead.
Well, it's gonna be long. Angry Man, are you for or against financial abortion for men?
It's a tough one.
Because they about to get into it. It's gonna be a while. I just want to know his position on that before they get into it.
Well, I mean, that's not an easy yes or no answer
Man,
for a multitude of reasons. It's difficult. It's just like it's difficult, bro. I can't give a yes or no on that.
If I may add this, Angry Man, my
I
issue,
respect your answer.
the reason why I'm an advocate of financial abortion is not just because of the woman, it's because of the apparatus of government that has evolved around it to the point in which it's not even really about helping the mother or the children. It's about maintaining the system of extracting resources from men, especially onerous on black men. And when those men cannot provide, then enslaving them either in prison or taking their driver's licenses away, all these innumerable things that they have assigned to the child support system. So when you look at it in the totality of the evil of the system, it's just easy for me to conclude that men should be given an out.
Well, you have to realize. Let me just say this before. Let me respond to that real quick before Obsidian, goes in on me. The thing you got to realize, which is why this is such a difficult question, is because I'm not for, and nor have I ever been for, guys not taking care of their responsibilities. You know what I'm saying? I took care of my responsibilities. I did what I had to do. It was made difficult for me to take care of my responsibilities more than it really had to be. But you got to realize the whole reason they did this is to avoid, the small percentage. I think it's about 8% in our community, the small percentage of men who do have children and then just bounce and they really don't care about the children. So it's, they did it for a reason. The problem is the fact that you have women abusing the system. They're abusing it. Like if when a woman goes and she files for child support, she has to sign an affidavit that states that she has not received a single dollar of support from the father. And the problem is the court is not enforcing those affidavits. In other words, they're not doing their due diligence to make sure that that affidavit is actually true. Now, anything else that deals with an affidavit, if you lie on it, you're going to be in a world of shit. But with
that affidavit is just a formality for them to essentially promote what they already want to do. They want the ability to say they presented this, but not necessarily want any woman to actually make a valid assertion on that basis.
Yeah, and that's why I said it's a difficult. That's why I've made comments that reference financial abortion, but I do realize it's a difficult. It's a very difficult. If the dude asking me, I would say 80-20. I would say for it 80, against it 20, because it's not that simple. That is not a simple yes or no.
I agree.
And the only reason this is simple. Oh, go ahead, Bernard.
No, I was about to pass it to Obsidian. That let's see.
Before they get it, because they've been going back at it for a while. Before he gets it, the only reason it's a simple yes or no to me is because the equality is completely there, plain to see. Women have abortion; they've had it for a long time. There is no stipulations for them to use it. They can use it for whatever reason, whether they're married, whether they're rich, whether they're poor, in between. Nothing. Men deserve that same right and to have that same control over our fates. And honestly, I was shocked at how I'm always shocked at how many men, are have trouble with it. I guess it just shows that men are more moral than women. But
No,
men
it also
absolutely.
shows that they've been raised by women.
No, that's bullshit. For me, it's looking at it morally and ethically. I understand that me signing some papers saying I want that damn baby is a real small thing to do. Her actually making that tough decision to actually kill a life that's growing inside of her is a much bigger moral dilemma.
But yet they've done it 20 million times.
I know I know when I laid that out, I laid out the counter argument too. So I understand the counter argument. For some of them, it's just some really effective birth control, but for some of them, it's a really tough decision. But for a guy who don't yet have no attachment to a 2-week-old baby growing in a fetus inside of the body of another person, for signing some paper, paying $300 and signing a document at the courthouse is a real easy thing to do, and just go high stepping up out of there like Deion Sanders. You free. But it's a different thing for a woman to have to do. That comes from my just morals and ethics and all of that. So that's why I'm divided on that. I'm not even convinced if I would vote yay or nay on. I mean, if it was on the ballot and men actually could get any type of win, I might vote for it, even though I'm not all the way on board with it. If we can get any
I would
type of
hope
win.
so. And then you just personally you wouldn't partake in it because personally you don't have an issue with it. Because there's a lot of women that personally wouldn't have an abortion, but they still vote for women to have it just because they want women to have rights. And I would at least hope that men, which is why I always ask, would you vote for or against it? I would at least, if a man's against it, I would at least want us to have the same loyalty to men that women have to women, and vote for what's in our best interest, even if you wouldn't personally do it.
But that's the problem, JR. Guys are not going to do that. That's that, and that's a double-edged sword, because you don't want guys to make uninformed decisions just based on the fact that everybody is guys. But at the same time, it's the reason why women are kicking our butt when it comes to things like this.
Exactly. Which is why we might have to take harsher measures like what J.I. proposes to create more of a balance versus what currently exists.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't even consider it harsh. It's literally just equal. Women, as Ackerman said, they can kill the child, but everybody wants to get in a tizzy if a man just talks about walking away. It's the inequality, and that's what we're going to have to work to go against, because killing a child is nothing compared to signing a piece of paper and just walking away. Treat it like she got a sperm donor. That's all it would be. Because the woman, another thing, and I'm gonna let it go. The woman still has the choice in the matter. She has a choice. So nobody's compromising her choice. Men have no choice. Only thing I propose is that men get a choice. That's it. All right, you got it.
All right, go ahead, old man. You got the floor. You got the mic. Let's keep it clean. Let's keep it clean.
Yeah. Okay. So the argument from Angry Man was that competence has nothing to do with it. It's all about policy. You and I, Bernard, have agreed that we have sidestepped situations that Angry Man clearly did not.
I don't even know what you're talking about right there. So don't weaponize me in your argument against Angry Man, because I don't know what you mean by we sidestepped something that he did not.
He's talking about me having children and having to deal with child support. That's what he's talking about.
Oh, I had to deal with that shit. I had to fight like hell, and I did, and I won. It took a few years, but I won. But I had to deal with it, and I did all the right things. Was married for 12 years, and last few years of the marriage, I was competent in paying 100% of the bills.
Were you incompetent in your marriage, Bernard?
What did you say?
Incompetent. Were you?
No, I know you cut me. You cut me off.
I'm speaking to Obsidian's point.
No. What I'm telling you, you cut me off right when I was explaining my competence in the marriage. I said the last few years of the marriage, she wasn't working. I was paying 100% of the bills, so I was very competent in that sense.
So the argument from Angry Man was that I was in no position to discuss this matter, particularly with regard to him, given that I don't own a car, I've never been married, don't have children, and struggle to pay my bills. Fair enough. My response to that would be that while maybe all of that may be true, this is something else that's true. I have never been on the air doing a live show and my woman come in and interrupt me that I had to get off the air because she got to get up and go to work the next day. No woman has ever been with me that ever had to hit a lick. No woman has ever told me that I was broke. No woman ever had to put up with a job that she didn't like. So I must be doing something right in the competence department.
Well, when it comes to what you just said, number one, you misquoted me. That's number one. I didn't say you weren't allowed to have the conversation. I said you don't have the right to question my competence.
Okay.
That's what I said.
That's fine.
That's speaking to you coming at me on the personal level, which is why I came back at you on a personal level. If we're talking about the topic, let's talk about the topic.
Okay. Well, I think that we both have now laid our personal experiences bare, yours and mine. I'm happy and more content to let the public decide the left and the right of it. My position is very simple. Laws is not going to change this. This is not a question of laws. I agree with Bernie. I think this is a question of culture, and it starts in the home. And yeah, it's going to start with the guys.
But Bernard had a marriage. He had a home. He had a family, and it went awry. And it went awry in part because she was legally empowered to make things go awry.
Okay, so let me ask this question. Bernard, you got married at a very young age, did you not?
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree or disagree with the proposition that in hindsight, you might not have made the same decision twice, given certain things about your ex-wife that you see today that you might not have seen back then?
Right, I wouldn't do it.
Okay, so that suggests an error on Bernard's part.
Mm-hmm.
No, it suggests the possibility of a system that would encourage her to. You guys talk as if women. You guys talk as if women have not changed. These women are the same. I mean, I saw the same type of behavior. Look, I say I'm older than you guys. I saw the same type of misbehavior amongst my great aunts, my aunts, other women. They behaved the same way. They talked very much the same way. The difference is there were things they could not do legally.
Yeah.
There were programs that did not exist. That domestic violence court and all that stuff did not exist. So they could not do certain things that Bernard's wife and women of today can do now. Those were legal decisions. Those were political, regulatory decisions. They weren't just about culture. I hardly even know what the hell culture means most of the time. A lot of this culture came right out of law, came right out of judicial decisions.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's incentivized. It's incentivized for them to take it to the next level. They're weaponizing the courthouse, and have been weaponizing the courthouse for a very long time. And just to speak to another part of the discussion that was brought up, my woman has never came in the room and told me to get off of a live stream, and I got off of the live stream. Anybody that watches my show on a regular basis sees me in the middle of the night, sometimes screaming, going berserk, and don't nobody come in here and tell me nothing. Don't nobody tell me when to get on a stream, when to get off a stream. What you're referring to is when I was raising hell, that there was too much noise being made in the household because the mic I had picked up everything. And her counter to that was, well, sometimes you're loud and I got to go to work in the morning. But see, those are the type of issues that go on in relationships.
Well, apparently your relationships, because I've never had a woman ever interrupt me for any reason while I'm on the air.
You can't get a woman.
No, she's sitting here right now, as a matter of fact.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like,
would you like to say something, my dear? She said no.
Yeah, sure thing.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I'm supposed to show Anger Man coming in like the Rock landing smackdown on old man and his candy ass. Thank you, said for the super chat. Melody in the building with a super sticker. Thank you very much, Melody. I appreciate that. And also, real quick, hold on, old man. Ray Clemens in the building with a super chat. He says, how can any woman tell anything if you can't even get a woman to rock with you? Okay. At least y'all paying. Yeah, paying to talk shit. Oh, I got a couple more. Shout out to everybody super chatting and supporting this show. I appreciate it. He said the Thriller in the building with a super chat. He says, before you have issues with women, they need to be interested in you first. Okay. And Black Wolf Inc. back in the building, he says 1930, 1990, the Democrats held the Senate and the Congress for the vast majority of the time. FDR had both all throughout his 3 terms living. That's key.
Hold on. Hey, Bernard, can I say something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Babe, is that how that situation went down?
No, and it's like 20 million years ago. Why do people try to stir shit up? Like, that's not what happened. I would never do that.
And that's that.
That's that right there, bro. Would you ever come in here while I'm in the middle of the night on a live stream going berserk and tell me that I better get off of the live stream because you got to work in the morning?
No, that's not even my personality. And I don't talk about this job.
Exactly. Why you don't care about the job, man?
Because my man got 2 jobs. I need to be here.
Facts. Thank you. That now go get your lady Obsidian and put her on here and go ahead and tell and have her confirm your bullshit, bruh.
Oh, you're saying I'm bullshitting now.
Full of shit.
Why am I
You're
bullshitting?
full of shit.
How
You're
am I
full of shit, bruh.
How?
Put her on the mic.
Oh, hold
Hey,
it. Hold
Bernard, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. This conversation needs to be had. I'm gonna let y'all have it.
I'm sorry.
Peace,
You,
J.I.
how am I bullshitting you? How exactly?
He heard some other content creator saying and he's trying to use it for ammo. That's why. But
How am I bullshitting you?
go back to work, man. I'll talk to you later. Love you too.
How am I bullshitting you?
Say what?
How am I bullshitting you?
How you bullshitting me? Because you're constantly talking all of this competency and how you're the better man.
I didn't say that.
In reference,
I never said that.
hold on, wait. Can I finish? Can I finish? You're not saying it. You may not use those words specifically, but that is the implications.
No, that's what you read into
That
it.
is the implications of
that's
what
what
you're saying.
you
Everyone knows it.
You read it.
Everyone knows it.
No, you know it.
Everyone knows it.
No, you know it.
Everyone knows it.
No, you know it.
Everyone knows
No,
it.
you know you're not in a position.
Everyone knows it.
Everybody else.
Hey, where's the Mini Cooper?
Why don't you speak for yourself?
Where's the Mini Cooper?
Where don't you speak for yourself?
Where's the Mini Cooper?
Hold on a second, angry man.
Where's the Mini Cooper?
Can we have a conversation?
Where's the Mini Cooper?
Okay, we're not going to have a
You
conversation.
shouldn't attack my competence, Obsidian.
Okay, all right, here we go.
You shouldn't attack my competence.
Exciting episode
You
of
attack-
Obsidian
you
Radio comes courtesy
You
of
attack my competence.
Angry Man Airlines.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, fella.
All right. I've got both of y'all. Got both of y'all on mute. Hopefully, when we unmute.
Well, I have a question for.
Hold on. Okie McTowell says Obsidian. Okay, now you talking shit with super chat. He says Obsidian pays everything. Fantastic. Mike Chenery, thank you for the super chat. I ain't reading that when y'all on some fuckery. All right. Oh man. All right. King Killer says Angry Man clowning Obsidian. All right. Black Uru.
Well, I have a question for you and Obsidian.
Okay.
If we can't use the law in the courts, regulations, or whatever political system, how do you propose that we change the culture?
You speaking to me?
To you and Bernard, actually, since you all appear to be polemics of the notion of.
I'm not against changing laws.
But your argument appeared to have been that things can change without changing the laws or the courts, or that the laws and the courts won't necessarily change the culture.
I don't. My position is that the reason why we're not going to change the laws is because black men aren't going to do anything but sit here and talk. Black men aren't going to organize. Black men aren't going to raise money. Black men aren't going to lobby congressmen.
Yeah, but that's a different argument than whether or not the law can change the culture. That's a separate argument.
No, I don't think the law can change the culture.
Okay, and you would agree with him, Bernie? So,
I think it can, but like I laid out before, I think the culture tends to change at the grassroots, and then they start making laws that line up with where the people are going. Like I referenced, Obama didn't all of a sudden agree that gay marriage should be legal until the people were 51% in favor, 49% not in favor. Then he changed with the people. The civil rights movement was happening at the grassroots, and then the lawmakers said, "Oh shit, we got to do something." So it's normally people are changing at the grassroots, and then the lawmakers who get voted in by the people change for the people. It's very rare that lawmakers just come in and just they just basically kick the door down and say, "This is what it's going to be, bitches. Like that normally don't happen. Normally people start moving in a certain direction, and then the laws start moving that way.
So wouldn't
I agree with you,
owners-
Bernie,
hang
but
on,
I think you're
wouldn't
confusing
that
the
put the owners-
grassroots with the culture.
but wouldn't that put
You know,
the owners back again on the black men who want to make laws? If the argument is that the culture is what makes the laws happen, and that the culture is the people and it's the grassroots, where's the groundswell of black men that want to have these laws changed? Where are they?
Well, there's a groundswell of black men online.
yeah, I mean, we're talking about it right
we're
here.
yeah, it's at the early stages of even convincing men that to not follow what's going on, all the liberal shit that's going on. Like somebody pointed out, I don't even know if this is true. Somebody pointed it out on my show that Joe Biden had a meeting with 100 influential black men, and then they had his ear, and what they told him to do is we want a black female vice president. That was what they came up with. So we so behind the 8 ball to where it's the black male leadership that even can get into those positions, they all liberal and they doing shit that's mostly in opposition to most of the shit that we talk about.
I doubt
here.
that really happened. I think they just presented that to try to use it as a PR scheme to encourage black men to support the candidate.
That's why I said I'm not sure if I believe it, but that's what people were talking about. But either way, it's not a far-fetched idea. Because look at all the black male political talking heads, the ones that get elected, or the ones who just speak on behalf of all of us. They're extremely liberal. So right now, I mean, I do think black men online speaking, all the conservative shit that gets talked in the black manosphere, I think that do got something to do with the percentage of black men voting for Trump going up.
Did anybody? My bad.
It does to some degree start there. I know you say, well, it's just talking, but just talking changes the hearts and minds of people, and that's where that grassroots thing is taking place. It's taking place online.
And I like to make another point.
Literally right now.
I like to make another point, if I may. I never said that I was the standard bearer and apostle of what a competent black man was. All I simply said was the fact that you have black men who have wildly divergent life experiences and outcomes as a result of their life choices tells us that this problem cannot be reduced to a matter of policy.
Well, whether that may be true or not, the entire issue with what you constantly say on a regular basis is very divisive. And the last thing that black men need is more division, and to be told that because you didn't do things this way or that way, that you're incompetent. That is very irresponsible of a content creator in a black male space.
Well, what I would say to that is that we can measure competence by its outcomes. And if you have outcomes that speak to you have gripes against constant gripes about child support, about which are all the results of mating decisions.
We cannot.
Then yeah.
We cannot base competence on outcome in every case. That is not true.
What you're talking about, Obsidian, is literally the definition of survivorship bias. Please Google that. Because
educate us on what that is.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so if you've got a situation, let's look at the doomsday when folks was showing up on the shores of Normandy during the damn U-boats. Everybody's getting blown the hell up. How indifference to logic is it to say that you survived because of your competence when that conflict was over? When you know damn well them people out there on them boats had an equal opportunity to get hit by them damn machine guns.
Your key word there is indifference. I never said that I was indifferent.
No, it wasn't. The key word I said was incompetence.
No, hold it. You said, how can you be indifferent to the fate of the other fellow soldiers on the beaches of Normandy? I am saying to you, I am not indifferent. The fact of that is me being present right now in this discussion. If I was indifferent, I wouldn't be here.
It's not a matter of the indifference. You're choosing to zoom in on the freaking adjective.
I'm just
the acting word here. The acting word here is you're running that through your filter of interpretation to say if I survived, then you could survive.
But you asked me a question.
Okay, but we're tying this to the point of you trying to act like
Now, if you wanna make-
competence can be measured by the outcome.
If you want to
Hindsight is always 2020. And basically for you to look back on your life and then to turn around and say, well, I made all the right choices because the result that I have right now is the result I wanted. There's no way for us to prove that. We don't know what you wanted when you were younger. We don't know what you set out to accomplish when you were younger. We only see the end result. And for you to say that the end result is exactly what you wanted, and then to turn around and compare that to other men who have different results and say, oh, well, the reason why this person is not competent is because they, ended up with a out of wedlock birth, or they ended up on child support. It's completely ridiculous. Part of the reason this space even exists is for the purpose of men to point out to other men, hey, man, look, if you have this circumstance happen, you may be able to avoid it by doing this, or you may be able to avoid it by doing that. The purpose is to help brothers here, not condemn them for the mistakes that they've made.
Well, what I would say to that is that, number one, that's not what I was doing. I mean, the fact of the matter is that my decisions are not at all unusual when we consider the fact that over 50% of today's black men are single and childless.
So are you gonna pretend like the environment?
That means 49% of them could be potentially having problems, and there's nothing wrong with black men talking about some, hey, do this, don't do that. If this happens, then do this, or watch out for this, or don't deal with women like this, or so that's where I don't understand your angle.
Men,
I don't understand the angle here.
And some of that 51%.
Hold on. I'm trying to figure out the angle. Hold on, real quick, before you respond to that. Ty City, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. I ain't even reading that one, but thank you, Ray Clemens. Shit, hold on. I literally didn't even read it. I just saw Obsidian in all caps, and I just the chats. I ain't even about to read all y'all shit because I know y'all on some fuckery.
Yeah, I didn't.
I got you, Game Changer. I thought it was already in there.
I didn't say anything about not having the conversation. That's like I said, I'm here because I want to have the conversation. I just don't want to have the conversation, pigeonholed into one particular cul-de-sac here.
And I understand that, but when you're saying that. Okay, if a man is competent and has foresight and insight in making better decisions, he can decrease the probability that he's going to fall into a lot of the problems that gets discussed in this space. I think we all agree with that, but I think the reason it's coming off as wrong, or the way a lot of people are hearing it, because you're basically saying, I'm competent, you guys are not. I'm the better man. I'm this. I'm that. It's like, no. Some men who are competent can fuck up and make mistakes, or they can do everything right, like me, and get married to the first woman I had sex with, and bought a house and got married and tried to stay married, and she was on some bullshit, so I had to leave her, and then had to go through that long custody battle and all that shit. And you could try to do it. You could try to do everything right.
And you agreed,
and then shit still go awry. So
you agreed that you made a bad decision, in part due to lack of experience and very young age.
And I would say,
okay, hold on.
That's not necessarily a wrong decision.
That's what I was going to say.
That is a life experience. That's not necessarily a wrong decision.
And it discounts the possibility of the woman's behavior changing over time.
I asked Bernard the question. Looking back, and he's nearing 40 now. So look, and he got married. I don't even think he was 20 at the time.
No, I was 19 still. I was still 19.
Looking back from the vantage point that you have right now, looking back at the woman that was your wife and mother of your children, if you knew what you knew about her behavior back then, when you had, by your own admission, little to no experience of women, in this case black, would you make the same decision? He said no. So that's a factor in the mix.
So hold on, wait. Say that again. Say that last part again. That's what in the mix?
I said that is a factor in the mix.
Okay, number one,
Yes.
he's older. Number one, he's older. He has more experience in life. So of course he's not going to make certain decisions that he can turn around and look back in retrospect and say, okay, I shouldn't have done that. But he had neither the experience nor the knowledge to make that decision at the time. This is the entire point of what I'm trying to make. You have men here in a large group that are coming here for the purpose of trying to get out from under the BS laws of feminism and numerous other things that we go through. You can't then turn around and it's almost like you're blaming. It's almost like you're blaming a guy, just like Manuel said. It's almost like you're blaming a guy for getting his leg blown off because he enlisted.
You know what? It bothers me that Bernard married a black woman, which is what we would, in most cases, historically, kind of celebrate. You know, that he tried to do, quote, the right thing, and now we're sort of blaming the young Bernard for forces, for issues that very likely had little to anything to do with him. He did the right thing.
More specifically, it had little to do with my competence.
Exactly.
And that's the baseline, the premise of Obsidian's argument that men who are competent don't have to deal with that.
And the big problem with this is it's being reduced. It's being
and more so. Had you done the same thing 30 years ago, you would probably still be married to her now, and you would probably still have a productive family.
Facts.
Not 30. 30 would be 1990, but if he done
it in the past,
yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
It's a moot point to say that somebody would do better if they knew more. That's not what this is about.
Yeah.
But what my argument is here is the idea that laws can mitigate making a bad decision, and I have questions about that.
Laws can enable bad behavior, which is what we're talking about right now.
Right, but we're also talking about laws mitigating bad behavior too.
This is called equilibrium. If I have a gun and I'm in a state that has open carry, right?
Is it really mitigating bad behavior? Right quick, brother. Is it really mitigating bad behavior? Because men like Bernard and Angry Man were behaving the same way that their fathers did, their grandfathers did, great grandfathers did to success. The only thing that's different in their case is the law. I mean, marrying young and staying married and fathering children is something that men have been doing since, the beginning of marriage in the West began with Augustus. So, what did they do different or wrong when the only thing that's changed is the laws?
Okay, so if that's the only thing that's changed, what are black men right here in this very room going to do about it?
Well, you're answering the question.
Moving the goalposts.
Right quick. Your answer is furthermore. You're answering a question with a question.
I'm conceding your point.
Okay. You ask Game Changer a question. Let him answer it.
No. Actually, I asked him a question and he didn't answer.
No, I said I'm talking to Obsidian. I said he asked you a question to let you answer it. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I conceded the point. Game Changer asked me, what were black men doing back then that you guys weren't doing? What is the difference? The difference is the laws. I conceded that.
Obsidian, you asked Game Changer a question and he was trying to answer it. Let him answer it.
Okay, so you're asking me what our brother's doing about it. So we admit that first we have to admit that the problem is the law and not the behaviors of the men, the current behaviors of the men. I think that is what we have to address before we can begin to do something about it. Now that we see that the laws are the problem, we have to set policy into motion. We have to unite and influence others to do so as well, and then act according with the understanding that this is the way the laws are now.
So is anybody here embarked? There's a gentleman by the name of Carnell Smith, all right, out of Georgia. He was able to get paternity fraud on the books in the state of Georgia, in the Peachtree State. I would recommend those here that feel so passionately about these things to contact Carnell Smith. He can help you.
All right. So thank you for that advice. But we agree that we address the problem. And, as far as the particulars of where we go from here, we do agree that the direction that we should go from here is attacking the laws and policy, not the individuals who are victims of this new regime.
Well, see, the problem here, and this actually contradicts the advice that Obsidian just gave. You're telling us first you're raising the argument that it's not policy, and then when someone raises a very strong point about it, you say, well, you need to go speak to so and so because he can help you with that. Well, how can men in this space do anything or mobilize to do anything when you have one of the content creators that some of these guys listen to saying that policy is not the issue? If you say that policy is not the issue, then what is the point of trying to affect policy?
And my knowledge of Carnell Smith is he's directly taken on state governments with respect to issues regarding child support. So Carnell Smith would very much make the argument that the fight is with the law and with the courts.
Because how can you fix a problem if okay, here's the issue. The biggest issue is we don't know how to draw the line in the sand. And by that, I mean, the vast majority of the arguments that I've been hearing lately is not in reference to feminist ideology. It's not in reference to the laws that are obviously biased against men. But the argument is, well, if you just be a better man, you don't have to worry about any of it.
You got to alpha your way out of it.
Game Changer, yesterday you did a review of a particular video.
Yes.
What was the cultural undertone you got from that whole interview with those folks on the panel?
It was very disturbing, to say the least. The gentlemen on the panel were very feminist centric. They were focused on the mother can do no wrong. No matter what, the mother is a good mother and deserves more praise. It was very bizarre to see that type of behavior amongst men.
Do you think
these men embraced the matriarchal setting and, deified the strength, the quote unquote strength of Black women?
So do you think that with that kind of mindset, that it would be any surprise that we see the legal non-engagement that we're seeing now, and that topics we're bringing up here in the Manosphere would stand in direct contrast to what you saw in that panel?
Absolutely not. I don't think that men like that are ready to inflict any legal change. We do have to attack the mindset of men like this before we can move forward, or just move forward without. Absolutely.
So what we're talking about is the culture needing to be in place first to set and change the values so that we can recognize the need to make these actions in the first place.
Boom.
We do have to address certain cultural behaviors. I don't think that Bernard's or Angry Man's cultural behaviors are one that needs to be addressed.
Absolutely.
They're behaving according to the culture as it existed before the changes of the laws. The gentlemen now have created a new culture that appeases the system that created the laws in the first place.
So we need to at first then have a sphere where we can congregate and exchange these ideas and offer solutions so that we can put together a blueprint that we then put into action.
Absolutely. That's what I was telling Obsidian. When I said that we have to mobilize the men and get them on the same page before we do anything. It was kind of dismissive for him to, suggest that person, I forget his name, that we go to him and, follow his policies, because there are some things that we have to take care of in-house before we can do anything like that.
Now, I would disagree that I don't think a cultural change is required. I do, however, think a critical mass of like-minded men and maybe women must get together on the issue and build the momentum toward possibly changing the culture.
Black Guru, in order for them to be like-minded, we would have to go through a cultural change. Right now, we are not of like mind.
Yeah, there would have to be a cultural change. Like as much as I love my culture to a degree, there are certain aspects of it that does need to change. The thought culture needs to change. The promotion of single mamaism and baby mamaism needs to change. The culture of Black men hating each other needs to change. There's a bunch that needs to be tweaked and changed before we could ever accomplish anything. And the thing about it is, I thought that's what we were doing. I thought we were trying to have an impact on the culture in this space. Maybe some of us have lost sight of that.
And we're back to this word that the Manosphere has been able to uncover, which has allowed us to take specific tools. And it's the same thing that happened when we gained a high-powered microscope to start talking about microbiology so we could stop talking about evil spirits and demons being the cause. This word, gynocracy. And you can tell where we get as far as our ability to address a lot of these issues when we can zoom in on the direct line of effect that has caused us problems.
All right, Ricardo Rodney, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. I know some people, when the conversation was intense, I think I missed a few of them. And I apologize for that. And I just checked on the likes. We got 469 people in here and only got like 150 something likes. So y'all could do a little better on them likes. So let's get the likes.
Well, I have a question.
Hold on, Mr. Shane Vicious in the building. Huh? You got next, Uru. Mr. Shane Vicious, he says, it may not be about you being alpha or man enough. It might be about her being slur enough. That's slut and whore. I found that out last year. I didn't know that was a thing. Slur enough. She's an X factor which you cannot control. Thank you for the super chat. And also, I think that's it. All right, Black Uru, you got the floor. You got the mic.
Well, I'm pushing.
Hold on.
Right before you go, Black Uru, Bernie, I appreciate you for letting me up, man. I'm gonna get out of here. Y'all fellas have a good rest of the day.
All right, peace, Angry Man.
Take care, Angry Man.
Peace.
All right. Oh shit, you getting interrupted again, Black Uru, because Judge Zilla came in. He says, and I got a feeling he's gonna be on some. Oh wait, no, you're not on some fuckery. Hold on. He says, in the meantime, young men, get a vasectomy. Pump and dump with condoms, stack chips, and SYSBM seems simple to me. Black men win. That vasectomy piece, I got to do some more research on that and find out. Look, I would be okay with if it's that easily reversible. I question it, but if it's that easily reversible, I mean, look, every brother at 16 should go ahead and get snipped, and then just get re-snipped when you find the woman that you do actually want to have kids with. That's a thought. That's a thought. But anyway, Black Uru, you're getting interrupted again. But thanks for that super chat, Judgezilla. Blitz7094 says, "Hey Black Uru, that's good. You're about to talk next," and he's addressing you directly. Says, "Hey Black Uru, you remember yesterday when Roger said to reigning woman, 'Are you okay with me and having financial abortion?' And she said, 'My feelings won't let her answer. Please explain this to the panel.'" So you could take that one, or you could say whatever you was going to say. Well, no, go ahead. He paid money, so just go ahead and answer.
Yeah. I mean, I'll address that happily. J.I., which I wish he was here, because actually that conversation went down between J.I. and Reigning Woman, who is in this environment, I guess, one of the more reasonable women. And first, J.I. asked her, did he believe that women should have the right to abort? And she went into the direction of, well, if a woman's been raped or whatever. And then I said, well, but you didn't really directly answer the question, yes or no. And her final answer was yes. Then I asked her, do you think men should have the right to financially abort? And then her response was, I would have to wait or think about that, because in hearing that question, she suddenly got into her emotions, that she had an emotional response that would not allow her to answer that question at that moment. So we were just kind of pondering the difference in response to whether women should be able to discard the effects of a pregnancy versus whether or not men could discard the effects of a pregnancy. And again, sort of reemphasize J.I.'s point of, women have rights, legal rights regarding pregnancy and reproduction that men do not have. And that we should not probably expect even the most reasonable of women to necessarily support men being able to do what women themselves can do. That was the point that was made in regards to that. But now the question I have for the panel, is...
Real quick before you answer that question, Sister George, we are awaiting for you to do a review on D. Darrell's song that you were mentioned in. So we're waiting on that. We're waiting on that. Anyway, go ahead, Black Uru.
Well, I'm somewhat polemic of this notion of the culture changing before the law change, because from what I've observed of history is there usually are a relatively few brave or aggressive sorts that sort of push for legal and judicial change, and then very often when that change occurs, there's a broader effect throughout the culture. I mean, we didn't have during civil rights all black people being on accord with Dr. King or Malcolm X or Medgar Evers. There were a few people that were brave enough and smart enough and had enough of a vision to support them, but that was never the majority of black people. There wasn't some overall cultural shift that occurred amongst black people. Yes, the brother who died recently in Congress, I forget his name, you know, that that were being beaten or whatever. That wasn't the majority of black people. It wasn't the culture of black people who were that brave. There were a few. There were a few very strong, very smart, very brave people who pushed for change and were brave enough to even sacrifice themselves to a degree, in some cases, to the point of their own personal destruction. And that led to changes in the law, changes in court, and then people began to rally around those things. That's what I have observed of history, not some overall culture change that led to the change of things.
Well, I think what's happening now is we may be getting caught up slightly into semantics. So one thing that's in effect now that wasn't in effect in all of the history you just cited, Uru, is social media. And because social media gives us the ability to transfer ideas so much faster at a much higher volume with greater repetition, the potential for social media to then begin to change social behavior is profound. And at this point, it's something that we as a whole have not necessarily had agency over, even though we've had influences over. The main issue is culture is supported by your values. So if you can then present information that may challenge somebody to change their values, you intrinsically shift the values of the culture. And you don't necessarily need to have everybody. You go and take a look at what the Panthers were able to do just in a college setting. They didn't have a ton of resources. They had certain ideas that they felt strongly about. They did the research and then they established a network of communication. And it was through that propagation of communication, handed out pamphlets, going to certain key things to get media exposure. That's how they got their message across. And over time, they were able to create a shift in the culture that we're still feeling today. So my point is, social media has changed the game as far as propagating, generating, and pushing out ideas. That's what makes this sphere unique. It's what allowed us to be able to take so many different perspectives on our circumstance and situation and be able to talk about it all at once across multiple generations. We've got boomers here, we've got Xers, millennials, and now the zillennials all in one location, able to get exposed to the same info. I can't think of a time where the black community's been able to do that outside of the church.
Barbershop too. But here's the thing for me, and the Angry Man left. I want to ask. So it's clear, and Angry Man would know about this because we came up together 5 years ago. So we've been talking about this for 5 years. I actually know people that can get the ball rolling on this. I want to know who's going to do it. It's not my issue. It's not my fight. But I know black men who can do it. I want to see somebody step up and get it done.
So just to be clear, Obsidian, the embetterment and empowerment and enrichment of black men's lives is not your fight. Just so I'm completely clear on this.
Yes, let's be completely clear. On the question.
Okay. So once again, I
want to answer the question.
Okay.
The issue on the table is whether laws, and by laws, we're talking about reproductive, family court, etc. Why will they matter in the black community? Will they matter in dealings with black women? Will black women change their behavior?
They have no choice. If they know that.
I'm trying to answer.
Let him go.
My bad. Go ahead.
Okay. My position is that it's not a question of laws. It's a question of black men being competent in the matters of relationships.
So once again, let me just put this into a hypothetical.
I'm trying to answer your question.
I thought you just did, but go ahead.
No. However, I am willing to contribute to those who don't agree with me, who do think that the law, and it's clear that there are black men here, angry man included, it's a question of policy. Okay. I know people in the area of policy. I am willing to put you in contact with those people. And then what? Angry Man has been doing this for 5 years. The needle hasn't moved. How much more talking do we need?
The thing is, the talking is never going to stop because the situation's never going to stop. I don't know why it's a bad thing to talk, especially
it's not.
Identifying.
At what point do the action follow the talk?
I'm curious to know, Obsidian, why haven't, because, okay, let's just say you have a button, in your living room that can change the laws. Are you saying that you wouldn't push it until the culture of men change?
No, I'm saying that I'm willing to make
push it.
I'm willing to make a contribution to this discussion, which really isn't my wheelhouse. Changing laws and policy has never been my wheelhouse.
But you talk a lot about stuff that you don't want to have to pay for, like that's policy.
I do, but that's a personal thing.
But it's policies that make it to where you actually do have to pay for that stuff.
That's right. But that's not my position on the stump.
So Obsidian, so you have these, you have these politicians in your back pocket.
I didn't say politicians.
You have these men of power in your back pocket, and your contribution, instead of contacting these men and working with these men of power to inflict yourself. So just to be clear, as my original question was, the empowerment and enrichment of black men's lives is not your issue.
No, the paternity fraud is not my issue.
All right, let me make this one point to the reigning woman comment. Hold on, because I'm about to fall right off. Hold on.
J.I., when did paternity fraud enter this conversation?
Well, we're talking about laws here, right?
Oh my God.
Well, I mean, but that's one of many. I mean, the paternity fraud is not mentioned.
And I'm saying to you, I happen to know somebody who was effective at changing paternity fraud laws to make it a crime in a state in the South.
Okay. Let me speak to the reigning woman comment, because that's the only reason I came back. We were talking about.
All right. After J.I., let me go.
Hold on. He was Black Uru. Hold on a second, City. I'm about to give her back. I'm about to fall off. But Black Uru was correct. But the only part he left out in that conversation, she tried to spin it. And I'm not. This isn't me to downgrade her because I don't know her, and I guess some people say she's cool, whatever. But she tried to spin it like she was for abortion for women because some women get pregnant through rape. So I asked her, okay, that's fair enough. So would you be for making abortion illegal unless the woman was raped? Rape being the only way that a woman could get an abortion. Would you be for that? And she said no. Okay. So women understand, but they try to hide behind that, whatever. But when it comes down to it, women go for what's best in their interest. Men need to do the same, even if you do not agree. That's my only point. No matter how good or virtuous they are, they're not going to go against their best interest.
But I just
so, all right, that's it.
But I just
got
thanks, Chad.
Hold on, real quick. Mr. Meach, thank you for the super chat. He says it's really simple. If women shouldn't be forced to become a parent against her will, neither should men. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. I want to go to Pop. Well, Game Changer and Obsidian was on the verge of getting to something. So I want them to hash that out, but then I'm going to go to Pablo next.
Okay. So just I really want to understand this, Obsidian.
Hang on a second. I'm willing to follow up on what J.I. said. Here I am, willing to contribute to the effort to get laws changed that will help some black men. I'm willing to do it.
Okay, so
okay.
So wait. It sounds like you're saying that all J.I. got to do is talk to you, and then you will just put him on the phone with this with the
man of power.
The man of power, who can who's not a politician. You said I don't know. The man of power. Let's go ahead. The man of power.
He's
Yeah.
an activist.
who can change the laws.
He's an activist.
Okay,
Okay.
so let me understand this, because he doesn't seem very active. You're saying that there's a man of power who has the ability to change the paternity fraud laws in all of the South, and what he's waiting on is Angry Man's call.
No.
So basically, he's standing next to a bat phone, and when Angry Man calls, he's going to pick up that bat phone and says, and then change all of the paternity laws in the South. And the reason why he hasn't done that yet is because Angry Man hasn't called?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay, then please elaborate.
Okay, I will. What I am saying is that you need people who are good with doing these kinds of things.
Then why isn't he doing it?
He did in his home state.
No. What is he waiting on our call for?
Oh, hold it. But he already took care of it in his home state. He's good.
But
you're trying to get it done in your home.
There's 49 others. There's 49 others.
And I'm saying to you, maybe he can help you out because you're the one that needs the help. He don't need it. He's good down there in Georgia.
And I'm good here in California. However,
what are we
I care
talking
about my
about
fellow
then?
black men.
What are
I'm
we
good here in California, but I care about my fellow black men. What I'm saying is,
where you can start in your own home state.
I'm sorry?
If you care about your fellow black men, you can start in your home state.
I am in my own state, influencing black men to change the culture so we can change the.
We're talking about laws. We're talking about
so that we may change the laws accordingly. Laws reflect the culture and vice versa. Now, once again, what you're saying is that you feel that the black men aren't doing anything in order.
I'm just asking a question.
Oh God. Okay, so what's your
game?
What's your question, Obsidian?
No, I'm asking at what point does action follow the talk? Using Angry Man as a yardstick, because I know when he started out 5 years ago. Angry, and to his credit, he has laid out many eloquent arguments. Okay, so now what?
So what makes you think there hasn't been action that's been done now that's one, changed the conversation,
please
begin to show value?
Please, the legislative.
I don't understand.
Please cite for me the legislative moves that have been made. I'm welcome to.
So, nameless protagonist, what he's doing is very similar to what Black woman is doing, and that is to under my arguments.
No, I'm not.
Excuse me, I'm talking to the protagonist. So,
I'm not arguing.
Basically, the way it goes is it's an automatic trumping card, so they believe. It's but y'all don't have power, and therefore nothing has changed. And therefore, because the Black community is in shit, you should shut the fuck up and let me talk. Because I love so much to hear myself talk is what's being said actually right now by Obsidian.
So we're discounting the idea of right? We're going to pretend like no fault divorce. We're going to pretend like
hold it.
We're going to pretend like Roe v. Wade didn't happen.
Wait a minute. All right. Let him.
Okay, go ahead, Obsidian.
The bound. Go ahead, Obsidian.
Yo, man, I'm not going to let you misrepresent me like that, man.
Okay.
I'm trying to actually help the conversation by bringing somebody into it that can be helpful. And I'm getting this kind of pushback from it.
Okay, so bring him to the Bernard Raleigh show. I'd like to speak to him. This non-political man of influence. I'd like to speak to him.
Why don't you come? I will get in touch with you. I got your email. I'll figure out how to get in touch with you, get in touch with him, and you guys do it. It's your issue.
Excuse me. Are you saying that you will contact me, then contact him, and then have us contact each other before you just contact him and have him come on the show?
No. What I'm saying is I will contact and make an introduction between the two of you, and you go and take it from there.
Okay, perfect. I look forward to that email.
Good.
Okay. In the meantime, what this tactic is to belittle the situation. Whenever an argument of progress comes into play, that's something that the sisterhood normally does. That's why they say you haven't built anything, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The truth of the matter is the sisterhood doesn't want Black men to build anything. That way they can justify their matriarchy. Obsidian doesn't want Black men to move forward in this quagmire that we're in because it empowers him. And as he mentioned so many times in the past, he is going to make a mint.
This is how you act when somebody is actually trying to help your ass.
Upsetting, you said he was going to give him the email, so we'll see what happens after.
No, I'm not going to let this guy just misrepresent me like that. It's unfair.
Okay, Obsidian, did you not say that you're doing this for the money?
No, I said I'm doing this to actually help your ass do something.
Obsidian, did you not say?
No. If you want to help make changes in laws, then let's do it.
Obsidian, did you not say?
I don't want to talk about anything else but the topic.
Did you not say?
You did not just say I will help make a contribution in the form of
yeah, and I said I look forward to the emails.
All right. So what are we talking about then?
Second topic. Okay,
it's not a second topic. It's over. It's over.
Wait. Everybody, hold on.
No. Obsidian, you can't just say I'll email you later.
Yes, I can say
I'll email you later.
I'm the one with the contact. You're not.
Oh God.
I'm the one with the contacts and you're not.
Oh God. Okay, so once again, you can't just say I'll email you the information later. You can't just say I'll email you the information later and in the topic like that. No, it doesn't work. You know,
it does work. Yes, it does work. Yes, it does, because I'm the one with the contacts and you're not. You're the one.
Okay.
Obsidian, you act like we don't have Dr. Tiasan Johnson, Green Gorilla, and all these other PhDs coming in here talking about.
Go get him then.
We are. What the hell do you think we talk about when he brings up his talk about
Dr. Tiasan Johnson here now?
You said what?
Is Dr. Tiasan Johnson?
Why would he be on Bernard Riley's show right now when he has his own?
Negro isn't here either. The magical man of power. I mean, not magical. Let me not say that. The guy that you're talking about, that you got that in you, that you know that can get stuff done. He's not here now, so the standard shouldn't be whether or not.
That's a moot point
because nobody else here knows him but me.
Dude, right. Are you trying to compare him to Dr. Tiasan Johnson?
He got laws passed.
Okay, you're talking about the paternity fraud thing in the state.
Okay,
I can't deal with this disingenuous comparison. It got nothing to do with that. Pablo, go ahead.
Okay. Let's. All right. I think that we all should understand that because Obsidian know a man of power, everything else is one for him. All right, now we can move on to a different subject.
Pablo,
all right, so a little while. All right, yeah, man. What's up? So a little while ago, the nameless protagonist used an analogy of storming the beaches at Normandy. Am I correct? About your theory about, survivor. What was that you called it?
I was talking about survivorship bias.
Survivorship bias. Okay. Now, what you didn't say is not every soldier is at the same risk of death. Because there are some soldiers who are combat engineers who don't come to the beach until after it's been taken to install infrastructure, set up camps, latrines, build roads, that kind of thing. They're not at the same risk as the infantrymen. Am I correct?
It depends on what point of the... I'll just concede your point so you can get to where you're going to. I'll say yes.
Okay. So while Obsidian had a blind spot in his conversation about, okay, yes, all men are subject to the laws, but your choices determine how much you are at risk for being affected by the law.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah, I think everybody agrees with that.
So you can't say, oh, Bernard did everything right. He drove the speed limit. He didn't disobey any traffic laws, and he still got in an accident. And then turn around and say, okay, so then it's okay for me to drive 100 miles an hour everywhere I go.
Okay, the flaw in that with Game Changer
so
pointed
your risky,
out.
Wait a minute, wait. The risky behavior, we do have a cohort of black men who engage in risky behaviors and they get burned by them. Okay. And then they will come around and they join. I'm not saying that this is the manosphere in writ large, but we do have a cohort of men who engage in risky behavior, right? And then turn around and look for remedy. Okay,
Okay.
so we can't deny that.
But if that risky behavior, as Game Changer pointed out, was ultimately something that was very normal for men to do in past generations, and that's meet a woman, fall in love, you lose your virginity to her, get married to her, try to raise a family with her, and then ensues a vast array of bullshit. Yes, looking back at it with the mind I have now, and the knowledge that looking back at it with the mind I have now and the knowledge that I have now, I would not have married her. But the simple point that was pointed out about Game Changer is that this risky behavior that you're talking about, even when Angry Man was on, he said he got with the woman that he was with at 21, and they were together for 10 years and had 3 kids. My situation was similar. The only difference is I did actually go and get married at the courthouse. We're talking about normal man behavior.
Okay, but
we're talking about men stepping up to that burden of manhood. And
let me ask you this question.
And the laws are in place to where it makes it easy for women to not hold up their end of that bargain, even when the man is doing right by them.
But let me ask you this question. When the laws change, the women wholesale, young and old, adjusted their behavior, did they not?
I think, well, my argument was they were adjusting their behavior before the laws changed, and the laws sort of changed. The laws formed around them. That's my argument. That's what I believe happened.
All right. So can you not adjust your behavior? Can men also not adjust their behaviors?
Well, that's what we're doing.
That's a lot. Hold on, real quick. I'm gonna go to you, Game Changer. Let you answer that one. But that's a lot of what the Manosphere is about. We talk a lot about men not doing the reckless shit. I coined the phrase serial impregnator. Those guys I got no cape for. When we're talking about a man doing the right thing, but the laws are still set up in a way to where he can get fucked over extremely while doing the right thing, then there's something wrong with laws and there's something wrong with culture. And the culture is the laws are set up in a way to pacify.
So you can do everything right and still get in a car accident. Is there something wrong with driving?
Absolutely not.
All right.
So
absolutely not. But if the speed limit was 100 miles per hour, I think, yeah, we do need to have a talk about the laws while we're doing something very normal as driving. We do need to have a talk about, hold on, those laws are causing too many people to get fucked up in car accidents.
So the difference with that in this situation is once you allow something to go through like that, the likelihood of taking those laws back and taking them away, it's just less and less likely. The problem is a lot of the changes in females' behavior have been done in a way where it's given women more options. And all that's being talked about is giving men those same options. And the resistance that's going on there is really predicated on the issue of control.
So what we want is the black men to have the same right to be as irresponsible and reckless as black women. I just want to make sure I got this right.
Well,
we're arguing what black women is doing is essentially irresponsible and reckless. Roe v. Wade, etc. et al. What we're then arguing is we want the same right to be irresponsible and reckless.
I'll answer
that. Real quick. You got next, Game Changer. I promise. That's why I have my problems with that male financial abortion. That's why the thing that I would push for is 50-50 custody, no matter what.
That's one of the things. That's one of the things.
We got to go to Game Changer. I've been cutting Game Changer off for the last 5-10 minutes. So go ahead, Game Changer. You got it.
Okay. The short answer to your question, Obsidian, is yes. Yes, we do want the same rights that women have been irresponsible with. Not to say that black men will be irresponsible as the women are with it.
That's not what I asked.
And the answer to the question that you asked is yes. Now, the follow-up to that answer is not to say that black men will be as irresponsible as the women were. When the laws were in our favor prior to that, we were not as irresponsible.
That's a damn good point.
So, you know, your belief, your theory, whatever you want to call it, that black men will be equally irresponsible is based on your bias.
I didn't say anything about a belief or a theory. I simply said if the argument right now that black men in this state have is that laws are empowering black women to be irresponsible, then you want to turn around and say, I want equality. You are essentially arguing, in point of fact, that you want black men to also have the power to be as irresponsible and reckless.
Yes.
You're posturing in this.
And once again, the answer is yes. And I do not believe, and history has shown, that we will not be as irresponsible as the women were.
Do you feel that way about firearms? That's what I'm curious about.
Record protagonist, Bernard wouldn't have been. If given the opportunity, Bernard would not have done to her what she has done to him. So when I say that the laws should favor the people who are more responsible with it and has a history of being more responsible with it, then the answer is yes.
Responsibility and irresponsibility are literally degrees of the same thing. They're predicated on the decision-making process that individual makes, period. We're pretending like these laws would only affect somebody that wasn't in a relationship. Let's say you've got a situation where you've got someone and they are together already and they did try to make it. Then she changes her behavior 2 years into the relationship. Here we go with this custody situation.
I didn't use, can I say something real quick? I did not use the word responsible and irresponsible in my commentary. I used the word risk.
Right. I'm not talking about what you said, Pablo. I was speaking directly to what Obsidian was saying about trying to just say, well, black men just want to be irresponsible too. And the bottom line is that it boils down to equilibrium. People need to have consequences and benefits to every action they do. And currently the laws are skewed in such a favor to where black men do not have any options or any agency outside of, okay, you release your seed, that's a wrap. And again, the statistics show that black men, compared to any other group of men, have been far more responsible when it comes to that than everybody else. It's just that when you look at the way it's covered, when you look at the way it's talked about, the blame is instantly passed on black men, which has been a freaking pastime in this country ever since we got here.
So when Keith brings up a good point, when black men had the power, we were the most married. I definitely concur with that. You see, power, we are more responsible with the power, simply put. Basically, we use the power that we had to build communities and families, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They used the power that they had to, garner welfare checks.
There's an interdependent relationship, once again, between the laws you have in place and the culture that applies the values. If your values are in tune with what the policy is going to allow for, you're going to be able to create situations where your communities will be able to take place in democracy correctly. Our issue boils down again, and I think we can all agree, lack of family. But these families don't form in vacuums. They're a series of interdependence that are generational. We're not going to be able to turn this around. It's like trying to take the inertia of a freaking Titanic and just make 90-degree turns. It's not possible. We have to do this in steps and phases, and we have to identify the areas that have influenced us to be here in the first place. And the laws are a direct correlation to a lot of the behavior we see, which again has been in female nature, which has stayed the same this entire time. So if we understand that, the only way we're going to begin changing this is to sit here and talk about that. And when we create, again, that field of equilibrium and give people equal opportunities to be responsible and irresponsible, this is how human beings interact. This is how this works. It's how power interfaces with each other. Sure, this can be used as an opportunity to do irresponsible behavior, but it's going to be the only vector that we can actually create a deterrent. It's the same conversation with gun ownership.
I kind of fall down on the side of Obsidian on this respect, which is, what is it that you want? And I'm still not really that clear about what some of the men in this space want to happen. You got a lot of gripes, but what do you want to happen, and how do you propose to get it?
Good question. The answer to that is the exact opposite of what we've been griping about. You see, when somebody gripes, what they want is a change on the thing that they gripe about. Say a child gripes about its bedtime, then what they want is a later bedtime. So you say we have a lot of gripe, but we haven't stated what we want to change. I say that that's implied in the word gripe. Pablo, I'm confused at your question.
So, okay, you want the laws changed, right? You want
That's the gripe.
some of these feminist sympathetic laws to be removed from the books, correct?
That's another gripe, yes.
That's one of them, right?
One of many, yes.
Okay. Okay. Now, step two. What do you propose to do about it to get that going?
I'm going to wait for Obsidian's email and talk to his man of power.
Okay.
New just sent me a cash app that I didn't even notice or realize. Thank you for that, New. I appreciate that. He says, good shit. That's all he says there in the super chat. I appreciate that. All right. Anybody else want to
You know,
somewhere?
you
Yeah.
know,
Ooh,
I
you've
got
been
to get
quiet.
ready to bounce, but I
you know,
just
I
wanted
think
to.
I must say this.
Hold on. Nameless. You said you was on the way out the door.
Yeah, I got to start getting ready for work.
All right.
All I'm going to say is just like we said yesterday, at the end of the day, this is accounting for men trying to get equilibrium in this situation. There's nobody out here really talking about dominating or taking things away. It's about equal accountability. And right now, it's so lopsided, it's not even funny. And people are doing the best they can to adapt and adjust. But I highly advise people look at some of the topics that Dr. Tia Johnson brings up. Look at this book written by Dr. Tommy Curry, The Man Not. Look up social dominance theory. These things really explain and give you a vocabulary to analyze this so that we're not using an axe to try to do surgery. There are ways that we can adjust this and have good conversations to where everybody doesn't have to be in these zero-sum discussions. That's all I'm saying with regards to that. But no, thanks for having me up. Panel, y'all have a good day. Peace to the chat.
Yeah, I will be emailing you for a one-on-one. I still got your email.
I may have missed it, so I'll
no. I didn't send you an email. I didn't send you an exact email for that, but I sent you one saying we got to do a one-on-one. We just got to figure out a topic. That was it.
All right,
but yeah, I'll be contacting you. Yeah, just be checking your email. Eagle Eyes came through the super chat. He says, "True brothers in this space can definitely organize, plan, and get laws changed. I will financially support a legal covenant / contract that will bring the best for Black males, and of course, true women will fall in line." I do like the conversation moving towards getting laws changed. I don't like when the tone is. I don't like when there's a shut up tone to the conversation. I don't like that, but it does. But yeah, it should. This space is, can definitely get more political in terms of getting laws changed. But like I said, coming in, a lot of it is more cultural than the laws. But I don't know. But I mean, we went round and round on that and how they are connected to each other. They're fueled by each other. One leads to the other, and so forth and so on. But yeah, but I definitely don't got a problem with that as far as us moving in that direction. Oh yeah, Uru. That's what I was trying to remember. Uru wanted to say something. I forgot about you that fast. My bad.
Yeah, you know what? I think there, a lot of movements, great and small, started with people talking, and a lot of the talk. We tend to only look at like some great change or some great event when the bullets fly, when the Constitution is signed, when the laws are made or whatever, and we don't give much respect or much credence to all of what may have happened leading to that point. I mean, the reality is Black men as a whole have just now, within the last 10 years, maybe not even that long, had any sort of venue at all where they can all kind of come together and talk and discuss through these very important issues. So to expect Yeah, and many of us come from very different places, very different backgrounds, very different upbringings, very different points of emphasis. So there's a whole lot of things that must occur in terms of us coming to any sort of consensus as to how to approach these various serious issues. And then how do you gather the resources, both intellectual as well as material, to champion and support some meaningful endeavor, which we do have some consensus on. And then how do you actually put together the tactics to make things happen? So, I mean, I'm looking less at what's happening right now and more at the trending over the last 10 years or so. And I think from where we were 10 years ago to where we are now, I see mostly very positive developments. And I expect things to become even better as we really can come together and really begin to focus on some sort of consensus as to what's going to be important, what to prioritize, and then how to organize to make those things happen. So I would hope that we be careful about how we question each other's motives, what we tend to do or whatever, because I think we are, from my perspective, and because I am a little older, I think we're very much in sort of an infancy phase in terms of the direction that we're trying to go in.
All right, O'Shea Lennox, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. It says children know bedtime. I gotta have you on the show. I gotta hear that old man voice, man. I ain't heard it in a while, but thanks for the super chat. Appreciate it. Chaos Rain, what you
What's
got?
good, man? I had to vouch for the old man for this, that when it comes down to at the end of the day, when he asks, what are we as men doing? The foots, there's very much little silence. But for the last year or two, I hear talks about the problem, but there's no really implement of actual action. And like you said, Asadian, this is showing proof of the competency. I mean, we could talk all day long, but if we're not doing nothing really to change some of these policies or doing just initial work or attempting to do the action, it's all babble. It's barbershop talk. And I'm a realist that I could talk about the problem all day long, but unless I'm actually in the engagement of trying to meet these people, wherever state I am, to try to help or have a band of other black men, not just myself, just to convince people that's in higher position, it's all barbershop talk at the end of the day. I think hold on, let me finish. In my mind, I feel what most black men, they're hoping other groups of men are going to do this work that's not part of race to change laws, and we sit back and then hope for the best. That's what I'm getting out of this overall. Now, y'all can have as much time, but this is what I'm getting overall. Let's say that. Am I right or wrong?
That's not true.
I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters whether you're right or
Game
wrong.
changer. Go ahead, game changer.
Right quick. I have to say, it's very bizarre to hear, and there's kind of like a missed irony here when you hear a group of men join a talk to talk about how they're talking and to get them to stop talking. I find that very bizarre that no one here sees the irony in that. Chaos Rain, you basically said, I want to talk to you, but because y'all talking too much, is essentially what you're saying. You don't see the logic there there?
But how long this conversation been going on amongst this?
What's going on longer now that you're here? So
how long have black men been in the position?
What I'm saying is you're talking, telling us to stop talking. What the fuck?
How long have black men been in the position they've been in this country? You guys talk as if, these are easy things that men who have been essentially trapped and enslaved for hundreds of years should automatically have a plan together to deal with. It's ridiculous.
If not, you should stop talking about it. And I'm here to talk to you about how you're talking about it. I mean, the irony is astounding. It's
okay.
And
that's why I'm glad we got people like you, so I don't always have to be the one to say it.
And also, I'm going to go to you, Ed. Also, there are men that were not enslaved for hundreds of years who also can't wave a magic wand to make the laws change, and they agree with us on a lot of these issues. It's not easy to change laws in the country. It can happen. It can happen, but we can't pretend like it's a magic wand, especially like as I said before earlier in the show, when it comes to black men, most of them are liberal. Most of them, when they're in those positions of power, they are fighting for the same shit that we disagree with. So it's
Yeah.
yes, having the hold on, having the conversation and changing the hearts and minds of black men on the ground is an important thing, and so that I'm not about shitting on that, but I do. That's what Game Changer said. I have made the argument. People normally do it in different contexts, but quite often they basically make the "don't talk on a talk show" argument. But anyway,
Well,
Okay,
that's the
hold,
part where
hold on,
that's
real quick. Can I respond to Game Changer real quick? Look, everybody that says we need some movement is not saying shut up. That ain't me. That's for
a
sure.
lot of them are.
When I said gripes, wait a minute. When I said gripes, the
Everybody who's
issues
not
are
moving,
legitimate.
we need movement.
Wait a minute.
Shut up.
Hold on. Let him let it
The
up, Game
issues,
Changer.
the issues are legitimate. The issues are legitimate. But at some point, you do have to move from conversation to action, or you begin to look like a toothless lion. That is my point. But no, the issues are legitimate and they should be discussed.
All right. Well.
Right quick, Edward. A toothless lion still has claws. Now, I do want to state this: lead, follow, or get out the way. You people who are saying stop talking, we need action, and who are not acting, you're not leading, you're not following, you're just in the way. So please get out, because here's where we're going with this. How much talk, like in the late 1800s, before feminism actually created a matriarchy? How many years, damn near decades or centuries, did it? Excuse me, of talk did it take before it went into action? Before a single gun was fired? Was there some pretty bitch that was saying, hey, all you do is talk? Was there some 1890s, dress wearing bitch that says, all you do is talk? Y'all need to stop talking. But now we see the results of that talk, don't we? Don't we? So yes, that talk slowly went into action. So please don't tell us to shut up. We're working on something. You're not. So please lead, follow, or get out the way.
Yeah. And Pablo, I hear what you're saying. Understand that most dudes that are serious about this can tell the difference between people that are pointing, keeping score and talking about, okay, I understand the value in the conversation, but that conversation has to lead to action. We all get that. That's why, in my opinion, Game Changer didn't jump on you. He jumped on chaos, because we can tell the difference between the people that just shut up folks and the people that are actually trying to add some context and balance to the conversation. So I hear you on that. What I will say, though, is, when I look at things like, for instance, talk radio, a lot of the white talk radio, which houses a lot of the views from their perspective, when they talk about the culture war stuff, if you understand the history between that and Fox News, a lot of that started with just a whole bunch of disgruntled motherfuckers, and they were on talk radio, and then that stuff started to get picked up. Obviously, Rush Limbaugh were bigger voices on that, but there's also a whole bunch of other folks, to the point where you have folks run for Congress, and that stuff took like a 2-3 decade thing. That, in fact, the dude, not Rupert Murdoch, but the dude that passed away like last year, that was the CEO of Fox, he was or Fox News, he was in the Nixon administration. So that's how far back I like. Now, I'm not saying the stuff should take that long, but people have to add context to keeping score. Also, you hear things today, and it's not just from a pro-black male standpoint. You hear things today that you never would have heard, like even as recent as 10 years ago or 15 years ago. Like, think about it. You have Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who has passed away, and now, rather than all these black people being petrified and voting Democrat, black men, because of, they're being told to, you got a lot of black men, for different reasons, by the way, because I'm not a fan of Donald Trump. But at the end of the day, they can get him reelected and basically actually move the needle on a lot of this shit, because they'll have a Supreme Court that will deal with that. That's the first part. The second part I want to say too is, you have men that are in other countries that they control. like Asia and other countries, that they're being basically subverted by a lot of these fourth wave industrialist global patterns. They talk about the black brain trust. We are a minority population. So to answer Chaos Reigns' question of, well, we just want other people to do our work, that's not true. And I don't really know where the hell you actually get that from, to be honest. That sounds like, I'm not saying you're a female, but that sounds like something a female would say because it's absence of a lot of context. The reality of the situation is there's a lot of things that white manosphere people and black manosphere people can agree on, but things like marriage reform, child support reform, and a lot of stuff like that. But the truth is, it took them a long time to realize that their white privilege wasn't going to protect them. Their class, their white privilege was not going to protect them against their class. So now they're finally starting to understand how fucked they are when we've been talking about the shit. So this idea that a 6% population, as Black Huru would state, is all of a sudden going to change fucking laws. I mean, even if every black man votes Republican, the only purpose that you would be doing that for would be to dial things back to like in the Bush administration, which means get rid of a lot of the LGBT stuff, a lot of the ultra feminist shit and stuff like that. But as far as us getting accolades, we're just going to have to approach this a little bit differently of doing that. And you know, that's a continuing conversation because again, Black Huru, I'm almost done. Black Huru is right. We do come from different backgrounds. And the biggest issue that I have is I have a lot of people that they try to present answers, but the reality agendas that they really want to push, but they try to frame that as like solutions. When that shit don't even solve a lot of shit, it just pushes the needle for what they want to do. And then, like I said, they present that as solutions, and then people get mad when people knock that down because that's not a real solution. It's just some shit that's an individual solution that they're trying to make a macro solution. That's why we can't unify, because at the end of the day, we don't talk about what we agree on and build on that. We got people that try to present solutions that are really not solutions. They're just trying to take advantage of the situation. So anyway, yeah.
All right. Thanks for the super chat. Astro, he says, how many stoves does it take to cross the road? Stoves do not help you cross the road. However, they can be a great gift for a significant other who does not have a stove.
Actually, I'll answer that question, Astro. Well, more than you can afford. That's why you're on this side of it. Go for it.
War Master, thank you for the super chat. He says, Bernard, please leave this live up. I never take my lives down. He said, we need to listen to the beginning. You have a lot of heavy hitters in here today. Great show. I've never taken a live down. I may suffer consequence for that at some point. But
Bernard shit keeps the shit YouTube friendly.
Yeah, well, it don't be that YouTube friendly. Niggas be being niggas on my shit. So and I cuss a lot. So
if it stays up, it's YouTube friendly. That's why he said that.
All right, yeah. I've never taken anything down. But all right, yeah, there we go. He came back. I was trying to get past the mic to who we got here. Trying to pass it to Meech, get a new voice in the conversation. We've been all over the place. Go ahead. Yeah, we can hear you just fine. Go ahead.
Okay,
I'm about
so
to
it's funny. It's funny how
I'm about to step off for a little bit. Gotta go.
Right. It's funny how
I'll be back in a couple minutes.
It's funny how no one else ever has to shut up except for when black people start talking. No one has ever stopped talking about their problems.
Well, black men.
Right. So it's real simple. It's not that you should you should never stop talking about your issues. It's that you should be walking while you're talking. So when people come in and say goofy shit like that, how long are you guys going to talk about this? We're going to talk about it forever. First off, because this doesn't have a finish line. This doesn't have a goal line. Even white people keep talking about how to keep white supremacy around. And how long has that been reigning over the entire world? There's no goal line. You're not going to cross somewhere and get a goddamn medal. You keep on going. So you push 10 yards forward. You figure out how to keep that 10 yards and get more yards. And that's the way it is. It's an endless field, however long humanity is going to last. Right? So there's people that just get tired of listening. Well, the first thing is that you don't have to listen. There are millions of channels on YouTube. If you don't like it, find one that you like. Find one that you agree with. We don't go over to the racist channels and listen to this shit. Right? You don't have to listen to this, but quit trying to shush us. It makes us wonder whether or not you over here working with these black chicks. I'll be honest with you. I used to think people were trolls. Now I'm starting to think people are just plants. And they're working with they're undercover
Yeah.
simps, is what I'm starting to think. They're undercover simps. They don't want to change. They don't want to change our situation. And they come over and try to present things in a way to where it's palatable, to make it seem like it's something we should actually give some thought to, when really it's just a crock of shit. Do you get what I mean? Is there any?
Yeah.
Really think about this. Let's play devil's advocate, right? Let's play devil's advocate, all of us. Is there in the big scheme of things? Is there anything reasonable to asking us why we keep on talking about the same stuff? And we're not talking about from a 16-year-old's point of view or a 25-year-old point of view, because the average person on these channels are probably about 35 years old, right? So from that point of view, with everything that person should have learned in life, is it reasonable at all for the question he asked?
That's no, I mean, well, personally, I would like to.
Can you repeat the question?
Well, I would like to meet the ambassador that goes into the UN and says, all you guys do is talk, or when they were
exactly
the Continental Congress, before planning the American Revolution and having the Declaration of Independence. I like to meet the congressman jackass that went in and say, hey, all you guys do is talk. Like it's
right.
It's just a very strange thing to do.
Why you think they paid attention to black men and would gather together? They made sure they inserted a black one. They made sure to insert a black person. Somebody was in the house. Somebody was invested in the system as is. Because if you look at it, talking. And here's another thing. Let's approach that from another perspective, the leadership perspective. Like I would submit Kevin's channel is a perfect example. So one thing that I always say about Kevin when people want to hate on him is Kevin never misrepresented who he was and what he was about when he was whether he was strolling through the Manosphere or whatever you want to call it. He came in what he is, and he took a lot of those concepts of what he already thought and applied that to a show that he does with his channel that talked about other things. And then he has pretty much, altered the conversation where everybody wants to use high value men as like a gimmick now. But the point is, he's actually made a dent in the argument, and he's done a lot of things by actually whether intentionally or not, showcased a lot of truths that we have been talking about in a way that it's hard for people to ignore. My point is, Kevin had a lot of what he does on that show. He said when he was in the Manosphere, or I'm not saying he's not anymore, but you get what I'm saying. So my point is, for people that feel that way, you can actually lead in your own way and actually show rather than tell. Do the thing you're saying other people don't do rather than wishing somebody else does it for you. Another example on a smaller scale, shout out to Ty City. Ty City believes, he has said things that if you don't believe in having firearms and you get shot, that's your dumb ass fault. He has very strong views on that sort of thing. Ty City is trying to create his own gun channel to perpetuate that thought process. He's not sitting here saying, well, why do you niggas not believe what I believe? He's basically taking control of the conversation as to what he thinks. And so my point is, a lot of you all to have that mentality, you all think like employee. I'm not saying everybody that says it, because I get the balance of the conversation, but a lot of people that say it the way that they say it on the stop talking stuff, y'all think like employees, where you all expect other people to do something. If you believe something needs to be done, understand. Just like with the gynocracy talk, I'm not the first person to say that, but one of the things why I rail against it, because I thought that word was not in the lexicon enough. I've made a little small impact to that conversation, but the point is, even though I do talk about the gynocracy on the panels, I don't completely just shut down other panels and then try to completely bring it to what I want it to be. Some people accuse me of that, but I don't think I do that. So my point is, you are the person that believes in what you believe, so go out there and do it. Stop trying to make other people carry your water, is my point.
Yeah, Edward, you mentioned talk radio going back, because again, I'm old enough to recall, it was just like the sort of conservative talk, and it would often sound very strange to us that were coming up in what was a more progressive environment. It was a little AM radio channel saying all this strange conservative stuff. Those people changed the Congress in the 90s. Prior to that point, You know,
Yeah,
the
Republicans never took over. Yep, it was a long time. Go ahead.
controlled Congress for 40 years prior to that point. 40 years. Then Rush Limbaugh and those guys started saying all that stuff. Then some of those folks who listened to that, they ran for office. A lot of them became these Tea Party people who took control later, you know, in the 2000s in Congress, the Gingriches, 10 years prior to that in the 90s. You know, a lot of very important things happened in this country, even quite recently, based on people, just regular folks, doing a lot of talking initially. Because if you say something enough, all it takes is, and it don't have to be the majority of people, but if some of the right people hear it, it may change and inspire a certain percentage of the population of people to do some things that otherwise would not have attempted to do those things had they not actually heard the message. And that's how I view this environment. I don't view it necessarily as everyone who listens to this must somehow become some sort of world beater per se. But what I look at it is slowly creating a groundswell of the change in language, and some percentage of people who hear that language will take the lead, will be the vanguard of some great change in this society. That's how I look at it.
And another example of that too is take people like Minister Japp and Dennis Sperling just had an interview. You see people like Dr. Tiosan Johnson, Tommy Curry, like these are actually PhD dudes coming in here, or at least using this argument as an aggregate. I'm not saying they would not do this stuff on their own, but the reality of the situation is some of this foundation was built upon a lot of people to piggyback on it, and then we're able to use that to create like not even a narrative, it's the truth based on, you know, what they add to the conversation. Like Dennis Sperling is a guy that is a lawyer, very successful in business. He can't say he don't get women, as he has children. He has been married. You know, he has fought his ex-wife in divorce court and won, because obviously he's a lawyer. He has property outside the United. My point is, you have people that fit certain experiences that agree with what we're saying, and those people are starting to be more comfortable in talking, which is another reason why, again, Kevin kind of allows for that conversation to be a little bit easier. Same thing on this show, Bernard, because your stuff isn't necessarily like, I hate black women, I've never been married, I'm this. It's a conversation. It has its place. And I think people are just not keeping score when they think about that. They're just talking, they want this grandiose, magical bullshit that you can't skip steps. You just can't. You just can't, man.
So that's what I said earlier. Now that's a good point right there. First off,
hold on, real quick. I was on mute trying to talk. Melody, thank you for the super chat. She said that was whack. I think she's referring to Astro making the stove references. The stove jokes
I don't know what the fuck that meant, to be honest with you.
They're a little old. They can still be kind of funny, but chill. I think I told you in the chat. Yeah, I typed in the chat. Chill with the stove jokes. Yeah, it's a 2 stove joke maximum, and then be done with it. All right, you can't be spamming us with stove jokes. All right. RS says an uninterrupted debate between Chaos and Game Changer would be fire. I'm not necessarily convinced about that.
No, I'm not either.
I think that would be a slaughter, but yeah.
So
real quick, because I do gotta shout out Steph is cold in the building, dropping a heavy-handed super chat. I don't got no bomb explosion sound effects or no, but shout out and salute to Steph is cold.
Yeah, you're starting to see bigger YouTubers now. You're starting to see people break that 100,000 bucks. Shout out to Steph is cold is one of them, which is something that would have been unheard of a couple of years ago. Go ahead.
Yeah, ultimately, the more the things that said in these spaces become normal lingo. That's why I love that Kevin Samuels, with all the criticism out there, he has a show that's going more and more mainstream, where you can criticize him all you want. He is dropping a lot of red pill bombs on a mainstream or soon to
Yep.
be mainstream show.
And Bernard, I don't mean to interrupt, but say what y'all want to about, oh my God, he's talking to women. He's got a show about women. But there's a lot of dudes that are well to do that agree with what we're saying. But it's like they're not going to play to create troll accounts or create other accounts that have dual identities. It makes it so much easier to have these conversations because this is a conversation that women is supporting on his show. So they can only get so mad because it's not like he's coaching these women to call. So it serves as an absolute icebreaker. Think of when people call in that show, they say they got the show from somebody else. Either it was another female or another dude. That should tell. That's a lot. And see, a lot of people forget that shit because they're thinking very narrow-minded. Anyway, I just want to point that out.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, and that's why
shout out to Stephens Cole once again. Thanks, I appreciate that. Warmaster 7 back in here with another one. He says, Bernard, you need a Rodecaster Pro. Ask DJ Kuda. This mic is an expensive mic. It's still not performing like I need it to. I'm gonna I'm good with the mic wars. I might be buying another mic because I'm really not liking this one, even though it was sold on me, but I might have to get another.
He's at the mic wars.
No, ain't no such thing as mic wars. Hey, whoa, stop. There's no such thing as mic wars over here. Anybody talking about improving quality of a show, I'm all ears. It ain't no mic wars over here.
But that's why I said quickly. That's why I said it's important to track. And from my perspective, it's less about what's going on at any point in time and how have we been trending. You know, if you look at it from a 5-year, 10-year trending standpoint, you can't be anything but very encouraged by the way things are going, in my view.
No, I totally 100% agree. I like where things. Well, I mean, it's a long road. Sort of what Meech was talking about because I was listening to you on my tablet when I had to run upstairs. He was saying some good stuff. How it's you gain 10 yards, you still got a lot more yards to go. I like it. Some people want to Hail Mary pass, which would be great if we could score some Hail Mary touchdowns. That would be great. But I mean, even then, it still will be, a never-ending process. Conservatives, Republican, like we mentioned, talk radio. Yeah, they're constantly they're never going to be done. They're never going to be done moving the needle.
Now facilitate that 40-yard pass.
With that
40-yard pass up.
With that though, is
hold on. He said Rodecaster Pro is not a mic. Now I have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah, let me know what you're talking about. You don't got to super chat it. I'm paying attention. You can just type in the chat whatever it is you're talking about. But go ahead, whoever was talking that interrupt.
To reiterate what the last thing Edward said, you're not gonna jump from A to Z. People want this instant. We're not talking about grits, right? You're not gonna go down to your kitchen and boil something in 5 minutes and then it's done. That's not the way this stuff is working. It's gradual. It's baby step, millimeter by millimeter, right? Secondly, there's always somebody, another black male in this country who is turning 16, 17, 18, 19 years old and who didn't get this information yet and is just now coming upon it. Do you get what I mean?
And you'd be surprised at how many of them are getting this information.
There are hundreds of thousands. Think about this. How many black males every year turn 18 years old? 16, 17, 18 years old. Hundreds of thousands every single year, right? And the third thing is, right, I'm going to go back to this football analogy. They never stop having the plays. They talk about them in huddles. Those don't ever stop. They talk about those on the they discuss it on the field. They discuss it off the field. They discuss it when there's not games. You're always talking about it because there's always a next move. You're never going to make your final move until death. But there's always a next move. And that next move is supposed to prolong your death. It's supposed to keep you healthy so that you meet your death later on. But it seems to be it really is female. Like it goes back to this being raised by your mother or being raised by a bunch of females, because give it to me now and quit talking about what it takes. I had the discussion with BGS once. Officer Faulkner was on there. If they listen, they probably remember it. And shout out to BGS. And I rarely disagree with BGS, but I said that women don't really know what they want. And he said, yes, they do. I said, they don't know what they want. They know the end result. Women don't care about you starting off your bench press with a bare bar and then 135. They only care that you make it to 405. They don't understand manhood. And a lot of these guys here, they're not understanding manhood. You can't even, people on this channel, nobody could even work together if there's no discussion. So that's what YouTube is discussion. Now, you hope something comes of that discussion. Absolutely. And it's not as though things haven't come of that discussion. This guy who was just talking like that doesn't realize it. And if you don't tell him, then it must not be happening.
Yeah, and I'll say too, you look for wormholes. Like, yes, things have to be done in its proper time and place, but just like with, again, I bring up the Supreme Court justice vacancy. You see how fast the Republicans are moving. You see how some Republicans wanted to do it the quote unquote right way or the fair way, and basically how them motherfuckers basically got brought back in line. And trust me, that would the speed, because those weren't people that's easy to make them pull 180s just like that, that fast. Especially when you got some folks talking about they're going to support Biden because of Trump. They got that back on the road quick. The point is that to them, they've been building up to it, and they're like, "Fuck whatever we said. We're leapfrogging this because this is what needs to get done." And sometimes we need to do that as black men too. The biggest issue that we have, in my opinion, as far as the taking action piece, is number one, economic aggregation. Black men don't really believe in a black male agenda. They believe in a black male, they believe in a black female agenda before they believe in a black male agenda, and then they'll call it a black people agenda before they call it a black male agenda. The reality of the situation is you will never have a competitive black community unless the black men are on point and doing what they need to be doing. Period. So as long as the economic energy, and when I say economic energy, I'm not even talking about what white folks give black women. I'm talking about what black men give black women. As long as we value black female institutions, black females, more than we value ourselves over some bullshit beliefs or gynocentric beliefs of what manhood is, it was quite frankly given to you by, like me said, half the time single fucking mothers, then you're never going to go anywhere. And it's interesting how a lot of the same people, that's why I was trying to tell Pablo, I can instantly tell the difference between somebody that's saying it, trying to move the football forward, and somebody that's really saying it because they're just uncomfortable and they've been listening to too much, Cynthia G and shit like that going on. So, and here's another thing too. You generally know that black men are doing the right thing when black women are very, very uncomfortable with what you're doing. So, and a lot of times these will be, again, the same, and not just black women. When you see a lot of black men start popping up, remember that black men are the white men of the black community. A lot of these articles are written by black men, not black women. So folks have to understand that. But that's the biggest issue. And the biggest issue before that is as to why we don't economically aggregate our money, although we are getting better, is because we are very much divided on a lot of things. And it's like too many people want other people to just let go of their bullshit for the benefit of their shit. So as Obsidian would call it, the pro-black game, there's a lot of dudes that want you to play the pro-black game, and they want to tie the pro-black game to your own personal manhood, and they want you to sacrifice your own individual goals rather than saying, how can I look at somebody's individual goals and match it with what the group needs? That's why I say a lot of this stuff is, you got to look at it like an insurance policy. People are not going to pay insurance for benefits they don't believe that it's worth it to them in case they need it. And the insurance policy is only as strong as the group of people that are able to buy into it, because that's what allows you to give better individual benefits if people need it. We're not in alignment with that with black men, because we still got too many people that want to play the pro-black game, and they don't want to sacrifice none of their bullshit, even though they haven't even demonstrated that their shit works.
Let me address something you said, Edward. Let me address something you said. So I slightly disagree. I agree with what you said with one, just slightly, right? I'm just going to turn this ship a little bit. I don't think
nigga, you disagree with me? Go to hell. No, I'm playing.
I know exactly, right? That's what's supposed to happen right now, though. Exactly what you said, right? So here's the thing, is that it's not that black men don't agree with having an agenda. They don't agree with who should set the agenda. Now, let me give you the perfect example here. This is the part where you hear, well, why do you deserve to be called a math teacher? It's that kind of issue. So whenever we have people that are trying to set an agenda, you get somebody that comes in and says some derivative of why do you to get to be called a master teacher. Do you get what I mean? Even if you didn't declare that mantle yourself, it's because people are believing in you. People now, everybody has come in. Well, why does he get to? Well, look,
Yeah,
we go back to what it said for create your own channel then.
yeah. You
Create your
ask
own
them, what do you
channel.
want to do? And then these motherfuckers don't know how to talk when you ask them what should
Eh,
they do. Go ahead.
exactly. They don't know how to talk. They talk in circles, and or just I wish I could remember who that was. It was a while ago. They what is it called? I deny your premise in the first place. I'm not even going to answer your question.
Or they start conning. They start trying to say
Yeah,
something. They start, talking about subjective, abstract concepts, and they don't ever want to get pinned down to what they actually think. That's why I respect
exactly.
somebody like, say what you want to say about somebody like Richard Spencer. At least Richard Spencer ain't gonna
He's
lie. He gonna
direct.
say straight up,
He's straight up with it.
do you believe white privilege exists? Yes, I do, and we need more of it. So at least you
Yeah.
know
Exactly.
where he fucking stands.
At least you know where he
So,
Go
fucking
ahead.
stands. At
so
least you
right,
know where he stands. Go ahead.
fellas. I'm about to hop off. Bernard, thanks for having me.
Oh
Obsidian,
yeah.
disagree. Black Guru, always a pleasure. Meech, great to hear your perspective.
Take it
Edward,
easy.
always a pleasure. Chaos Rain, we agree to disagree. All right, thanks a lot, brothers.
Peace, game changer. Thanks for coming up, man.
All right.
Mm.
All
Anyway,
right. All right. I was borderline about to wrap this bad boy up. I done yawned on y'all like 6 times already. I don't know how I done got tired, but I guess we could do some closing thoughts. If anybody got any last thing they want to say, get off their chest before we go. Anybody?
I'll say this before I jump off. If you're not talking, if you're not communicating with other people, here's another thing too. We're constantly having new ideas. Even if, however old you are, you're constantly discovering new ideas or having new questions that you want to run across anybody. If people are having a problem with us getting over here and discussing it, the same thing over and over again, which we do every 4 years in politics in the country anyway. If we didn't do this country would fall to shambles, right? If you're having an issue with that, I would say before you even discover something else to check out on YouTube, you need to step back. And if you're being genuine, this is for the people who are genuine, not the trolls. If you're being genuine, step back and ask yourself what the intent of your question is, right? Asking why we keep on talking about it. And then where did that question derive from? That's all I have. You take it easy.
All right. Sister George says, damn, how long this been on. As a YouTube
yeah.
content creator, Sister George, I'm sure you know how to click on the beginning of the stream and stroll it back to, and it'll let you know exactly how long it's been on. So why in the fuckery
How
are
she
you
was
even?
saying. She was saying it is a part of the conversation. I know you be, but no, you stupid.
Why in the fuckery would you ask that question that you can ascertain the answer to on your own? Just trying to figure
Bernard,
that
you've
one
been in
out.
a manosphere too. You've been in a manosphere too long. You start to get some of that anger, that rage. No, but I'm
Nah,
telling y'all right now, I don't like. I haven't seen it, so maybe I definitely want to see Minister Jap and Dennis Sperling. That go on Minister Jap's channel to check that shit out. Obviously, I actually need to get into the thing with. I actually, Sydney, I watched your video when you put them out there. Like I said, shout out to that when you referred to David Carroll. But what I will say is there's a bright future for the Manosphere, and things are actually starting to move and move a little bit quicker. I mean, like I keep bringing that up. Who knows what the 2020s are going to hold, to be honest with you, especially with the opening of that justice and all of that, which if this conversation is going to be about laws, then the Supreme Court is what really sets the tone for a lot of stuff. And that's something that can really dial a lot of black men should benefit by just things being dialed the fuck back. So who you vote for matters. And if people were to tell me, okay, what is something that I could do right now that can push the laws in the right direction? I mean, look, I'm not a Republican. But I would say right now, outside of your own state, if you're going to look at things like national, you need to reserve your vote as far as who you vote for, or you need to seriously think about voting for the Republican Party, not because I'm a Republican, I give a fuck about them, but the reality is a lot of the stuff that's fucking with black men is being perpetuated on the left. Because you have to understand that LGBT shit, feminism shit, that shit can only exist at the expense of bringing men down. And black men are always the first to be fired, last to be hired types. So if anybody wants to ask me what's a solution that people can move for, if you live mainly in Ohio, but I would say Florida, you actually have a big decision to make. You really do. So
let me hold on. Time out. Like, look, y'all. When I said what I said to Sister George, that was just me clowning Sister George because that's what I do. It's an ongoing running gag. When she drop a little splash of fuckery in the chat, I make fun of her for doing it. Like, that wouldn't call her a bitch moment, right there.
Yeah. Silent was ready to be armed. Silent stay armed and ready, man.
No. What Silent did was right. He translated the fuckery to English. You know, she was really saying you niggas still complaining. What Silent did was on point. What Great Britain did, like, come on, like, don't make me put on the cape for Sister George.
Well, I mean, another thing too is this complaining piece, and then I'll end it with that. This fucking complaining piece. First of all, let's be absolutely clear here. We don't need black women to do jack shit. Ultimately, what people do not understand is black men are in a unique position where we have black men have nothing to lose as a group. Well, what else can we lose as a group? Like, really? If people that's the next question I'm gonna start asking sisters. What is it that black men as a group could lose in this country other than being put back in slavery, which is not gonna happen? The reality is black men are in a unique position where we have nothing to lose. So when it comes to who we vote for or what we do, we got to ask, do we want to support the same shit that's fucking with us? But if Trump gets another election year, if they get a conservative in the Supreme Court, and you can tell that they're smart because they're putting up a white chick. So they got 2 white women. They letting you know up front, we ready for that gender bullshit. So just like how they did with Clarence Thomas. But my point is, all these other groups, including our own women, they have everything to lose. So if they're too fucking, just like how the Democrats, if they're too fucking stupid to realize all that shit can be dialed the fuck back, irregardless of black men, and they can't actually address some of the basic things that black men are asking for, because black men are not asking for jack shit. Things like paternity tests, things like marriage reform, things like that's nothing. That's nothing. Then they need to lose it. And so my point is, we don't need you to come to the table. For us, you need to do it for yourselves. So this idea that we're just complaining and whining, that is, man, I hear too many dudes say that shit. They love to default back to that. And that's code for you mad because you ain't getting pussy. That's all that is. And that just says how far we need to go with the conversation. Because it's like, goddamn, if that's what you believe, then I might as well turn this YouTube shit off. Fuck it, live my life. And then y'all niggas will be the same niggas talking, well, why don't nobody care about what's going on? Because when somebody says something, you talking about you complaining about not getting pussy. Because you believe, and I'm not talking about Sister George at all, I'm just about the concept. Folks believe that if you ain't going into the community cleaning that shit up, cleaning up after other people's fucking messes, then somehow you complaining, even though these hoes been complaining for what, fucking 3 decades. And they got a multi-billion-dollar economy around complaining about what black men don't do. Anyway.
Jalen Roddy in the building with a super chat. He says, Bernard, have you seen the Democrats get your booty to the polls campaign?
Yes, I've seen
the most racist ad I've ever seen. He said in another comment, he said they got strippers trying to get black men to vote. Pretty damn fucked up.
Everybody should be sharing that shit. This is where your conservative, like Anthony Brian Logan, Brandon Tatum, they could use. I don't like them like that, but that every black person needs to see that shit, because that was what the Democrats did. It's like something on BET after hours, like at 3 a.m. It's not even. It's wow.
All right. Yeah, oh damn! I'm definitely gonna check that out. Mr. Shane Vitch is in the building. He says I'm in Florida and I'm voting not Trump. All right. Anybody else want to give us some parting words, or I'm gonna hit this end button? All right, my finger on the trigger. Go ahead, hurry up.
I have some parting words. You know, and I'm saying these things, but I'm not saying them to brag necessarily. So please don't take it in that direction. You know, I personally, one of the reasons why I try to maintain a certain degree of anonymity is that because I run for elective office a couple of times,
Okay.
and I may attempt to do so again in the future. So there's a little concern with respect to whether or not something I say here could probably influence that decision. But I lost both times, and I lost to incumbents, so I, not really particularly bothered by that. Although of one of the two times I got fairly close. I also created or co-created or led the creation of an organization that helped to get over 10,000 people registered to vote. I even trained other people to become registrars to help other people to become registered to vote. Now, I'm saying this again, not to brag, but I'm saying this more to say that my assumption is there are lots of people in this environment who have very similar backgrounds, have done very similar things. Been tutors, been coaches, been leaders of their communities, leaders of their families, churches, etc. I think there's a treasure trove of great human resources in this environment of all different types of varieties and backgrounds. And so I would caution some of the critics of this environment that they don't engage in a sort of negative PR of against the goodwill that I believe resides here. I think we should encourage dialogue, encourage investment, have faith in each other, have faith in the men in this environment, and hope to encourage those of us who may be troubled or may stand to improve in some way in their own personal background or dealing with their families or whatever, that hopefully we be a source of inspiration and promote all of us doing well or better, rather than just being a critic of what some of us, we believe some of us may not be doing wrong or may not be doing adequate. And so I think we, like I said before, I believe we're trending in a positive direction. And I believe that will even begin to accelerate. And I think 10 years from now, the Black Manosphere will have a very prominent voice in the direction of this country. I genuinely believe that. I think there will be a voice established here that will be very potent, very persuasive. And I look forward to seeing that. Hopefully I'll live long enough to do that. So.
Right on. Good shit. Good shit. The link right there that you see is Game Changer about to do I think he's dropping it right now as we speak. So he's actually talking on the mic right now. So y'all can he's doing a video on that get your booty to the polls thing right now. So I have no idea what that about. So what that's about. So I'm gonna check that out right now so y'all can go check that out. And also O'Shea Duke Jackson in the building says Manosphere 2.0 in the building. O'Shea, come on, chaos. O'Shea, I want my best newcomer Negro Manosphere award. I want it to be personally delivered by 4 of them Kinganda girls. So they gotta get flew out to my house to personally deliver me my plaque. That's how I want it. Just so you know. Make it happen. Make it happen.
My thing I would like to say is, it's funny. I'm a dude. I'm somewhat realist. I try to be, balanced in all these conversations. But from what I'm hearing, yes, you are free to speak your mind. This is a free country. Last time I checked. Am I right, Bernard?
That is a very free country. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, but at the end of the day, when I see action of Shakers movies, they actually do something. And it's going to come to a point when black men is going to get just tired. And I don't think black men as a whole are not tired enough. So I understand the pushback. I understand the fight with other men. But at the end of the day, unless we're actually doing something, it's just talk. I think with the high value thing, just to add on to this, what Kevin has done, he actually has created a separation. Now, either if it's good or bad, I see the purpose in that. Because like what Asian said on his own mixer, we're just not ready. That's just the end of the story. And it's sad for me to believe it, but that's what it is. And so I'm leaving it on that.
All right, Obsidian, do you want parting words as we exit? Old man going once, going twice. All right, we're gonna wrap it up right there. I'd like to thank everybody who came through, everybody who hit the like button. What the fuck? I'm looking at the get your booty on to the polls thing, and this is some wild shit. God damn.
Is it that bad?
I saw strippers and money flying in the air and something about voting all on the same screen. So yeah, I think it's that bad.
Oh,
I'm looking at on my tablet. I'm looking at a big. Hey, y'all can't see it, but I'm looking at. Hold on. This is very neurodean. Oh no, y'all can't see that. Yeah, y'all can see. I can tell that's an ass. That's an ass in a Go Vote commercial. I'm watching that on Game Changer right now.
Well,
anyway, we out of here, fellas. We out of here. I'd like to thank everybody for coming through today. Hey, everybody who liked, share, subscribe. Everybody who hit the super chat. Shout out to Steph's Code again, dropping that heavy-handed $100 super chat. Shout out to O'Shea who drops them Ugandan shillings on me. Shout out to O'Shea. Shout out and salute to everybody who came through today on the super chat or cash app, or even if you didn't do that, if you just liked and gave me the view, even if you hate watched and gave me a thumbs down, I appreciate you. And with that said, we are out of here. Peace.